to me. Yeah.
Right, sure.
Mr. Long,
Yes, sir.
thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, madam. Seem to have a lot of people on Zoom tonight. Help me to recognize if somebody is raising their hand to speak, so that we don't miss it.
How many people, how many?
17.
17.
Oh, he's on there.
She is.
Oh, I see her.
Upper left hand.
Top middle. Red.
Oh, yeah. There she goes.
Hi, guys.
Greetings, Lori.
Hi.
Hi, Lori.
Just FYI, that is Lori Duncan, and she would normally be seated right there. Seeing that my clock says 7 o'clock, I'll bring this meeting of the Dayton Regional Citizens Advisory Board to order for July 8th, 2026. To avoid meeting disruptions, please place cell phones and electronics on silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. The board reserves the right to take items in a different order to accomplish business in the most efficient manner. Items may be combined for consideration, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Restrictions on comments by the general public. Any such restrictions must be reasonable and may restrict time, place, and manner of the comments, but may not restrict comments based on viewpoint. And right now, roll call. I see present Crystal, Ronnie, and Jason in the room, and Lori via Zoom. That determines that we do have a quorum. I'll invite you to join me for the pledge of allegiance. Ready? Begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right?
We'll move to item number 4, public participation. No action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. It is anticipated that public participation will be held now, though it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during the public participation are asked to state their name clearly for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comments after each discussion item, but before the board takes any action. Switch to timer because with this many people, we could run very long if we don't have the 3 minutes. Okay, public comment.
Oh, sure. Hi, my name is, someone else starting already?
We'll start with you.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My name is Meredith Keys. I'm a voting citizen of Lyon County,
How do you spell your last name?
Keast. And I have a lot to say, but I realize we only have, what, 2 minutes?
3 minutes.
Okay, so I have a lot to say about health issues, but I'm gonna let somebody else cover that, but I'm asking bottom line for a moratorium on data centers. I realize that's not our issue, but it's directly tied to the Green Link. In my opinion, it's tied to the Green Link project. And we've already spoken about the Green Link, the health issues on Green Link. A lot of it has to do with, to me, elect EMFs and vulnerable individuals, especially if I work with the vulnerable population in particular, but I think we're all vulnerable actually. So I'd like us to put a moratorium on data centers. And while we our guidelines and regulations framework, we need to know the actual hard data on issues such as effects on water, air, water use, noise, and open green spaces. I just want to point out that there have been a lot of Henderson County, Humboldt County, and Reno have all had moratoriums on data centers. And also the New York State Assembly passed a Responsible Data Center Development Act, providing a 1-year moratorium. Laramie County in Colorado, several counties in Maryland, and there's also a AI Data Center Moratorium Act proposed at our federal level currently to protect, to come up with comprehensive regulation protecting environment and electrical grids and workers. So I'm saying, basically what I'm saying is there's a nationwide recognition that we don't know enough about the safety of these data centers. And I'm asking for a moratorium on data centers in our county and surrounding counties. Thank you.
Thank you. You got it, Corey, please.
And do you see anyone on Zoom asking to make public comment? Anyone? Okay, we'll go back to the room here, public comment.
Okay,
3 minutes.
Dustina Yellow here for the record, and I want to piggyback on what she said about the data center. It's very concerning about what Lyon County has already done. This Green Link basically gives them the infrastructure of what they need in Silver Springs for their Northern Nevada industrial center that they have planned in Silver Springs. There's already two companies that have bought land there, Microsoft, and the other one was Tract or something.
There's Track, Microsoft.
And last week, Lyon County also passed a power ordinance. So the power that they're getting, they can distribute to that Northern Nevada Industrial Center. Also, I was just on the Fernley County meeting tonight at 5 o'clock, and they are already on the data centers. They're already taking those steps. What was very concerning is in Fernley, they proposed these only be 1,000 feet away from residences. And there was a lady on there that was conducting the meeting. She didn't even think that they even needed to notify anybody. This is very concerning for our community because this is going to affect all of us. Even these data centers in Fernley and Silver Springs and Yerington, they affect us because of what comes out of the air. I am trying to raise a family here, and these health issues are going to, or these health effects are going to affect every single one of us, especially our children. So as much time as I can get through this, I've read a lot of stuff from the environmental health sciences. Data centers contribute to pollution through the enormous amount of electricity they consume and the diesel backup generators they rely on for testing, maintenance, and power outages. These generators emit a very fine particle matter, nitrogen oxides, and sulfur dioxide plumes that have been linked to asthma, cardiovascular disease, respiratory illness, and premature death. One thing I do want to mention too is with Yerington and also Fernley, they want these things called the closed loop systems that don't use a lot of water, which sound great, but not, because they use a forever chemical called PFAS. It's the chemical found in Teflon, and you can't get rid of it. It does not break down. It gets in your waterways, and it can cause cancer and all kinds of other
Embolization of males.
yes, horrible health effects. Let's see, researchers found that if data center growth continues as projected, emissions associated with these data centers could contribute to approximately 600,000 asthma cases, 1,300 premature deaths, and more than $20 billion in annual public health costs by 2028. These pollutants don't just.
Thank you very much for your comments. One more to the meeting, and do we see online requests?
I don't see.
I do not. Okay, back in the room, yes, sir.
There, Sheriff, sorry, my name's Tom Slover, and I've been here 30 years in Silver Springs. And I've seen this all the time, nothing here, nothing like that. This is amazing that you guys are doing this kind of stuff. It's not the thing, you even know what's going on. I have no idea what you're doing. Okay. You know, I talked to you, some of you lads down here last weekend. But you gotta understand, these things are worse than you can ever imagine. It's gonna happen. It's the worst thing in your world. Okay? And if you want to leave Finland, you have more time. She wants more time.
So expanding demand for AI data centers is increasing the demand for PFAS manufacturing. There's a movie called Dark Waters. If you watch it, it's about the Teflon industry and how a lot of people got sick in West Virginia. It's a good watch. It's really scary. So The organization states documented contamination more than 7,000 drinking water wells in North Carolina associated with emissions from major PFAS manufacturers. So this illustrates why communities need to be very careful with these closed loop systems in the long run. Because you can't get rid of these chemicals once you have an accident and they leak out into the waterways or in the ground. There's also real world examples demonstrating these projects, how they can be detrimental. Just today in Wyoming, they experienced a very rare bacteria in their, in their waterways because of a Microsoft data center. In Eastern Oregon, Amazon had to pay $20 million to a city after wastewater was contaminated with nitrates that also causes cancer. In Wisconsin, there has been lawsuits with noise and that are affecting the citizens in the county, leading to not a really great way to live. The data centers can increase environmental exposure to electromagnetic fields. That's what she was worried about through new transmission lines, substations, transformers, electrical distribution systems. The organization cites research discussing potential health.
Thank you again. Additional comments in the room?
My name is Dora Nash.
Can you spell that again?
Dora Nash.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. I would like to follow moratorium on the data centers and on the Green Link because I feel like these a temporary pause on these new data centers and these Green Link because this stuff is going too fast. I have environmental lung cancer. And we know that technology is moving fast, but fast technology should not mean rush decisions for our town right now. These massive facilities are being pushed through without enough thought about how they will impact us. First, look at the power grid. A single data center uses as much electricity as a small city. All this stuff that's coming in now, I just went down from Las Vegas and all of that, and they're putting these huge things in. And this is all for these data centers. I hear that 8 are coming into Lyon County. I don't know if that's true. I've lived here 60 years. This is a beautiful area. It's gonna ruin our area. They're trying to push this out, make it an industrial area. They changed the zoning for it. You know, people move here because they like the quiet life and be able to ride their horses and peacefulness, you know? And we just need to slow down to see what's going on with this area, what they're gonna really do to us. I didn't care about them up there on the hill, but down here, no. Let's see. First, let's look at the power grid. Okay. A single use as much electricity as a small city. If we let these plug in now, our families could face rolling blackouts. We might also see home utility bills skyrocket to keep these massive servers running. Second, these buildings have an endless thirst for water. They need millions of gallons just to keep from overheating. They keep saying it's going to be a closed loop system. Well, you know what? There's different data centers too. There's one coming in Reno. It's not a closed loop system. We don't know because everything's a secret. You know, everything's been pushed through without us even knowing about it. I know. Some countries promise to bring economic growth, but at what cost? We're trading our clean air, our precious water, our peaceful neighborhoods for a few tax dollars. We need a timeout. We need a pause. A moratorium gives us the time to study the true costs to our environment, our infrastructure, and our quality of life. We need to know exactly how much water and energy these centers will use. We need to hear from independent experts, not just the developers. We must protect our resources for the people who actually live and work here in this area. You know, you have these people making our decisions for us who don't even live here. Thank you.
You got us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There. Yep.
Recognizing.
I'm sorry, is that me?
Yeah.
You are.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say if it's not already a practice, and we need to make sure that this video gets posted somewhere where the public can see it, because a lot of this goes on that nobody sees, and I'd love to see more people getting involved. That's all.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Further public comment in the room? Yes, please.
Kelly Cantor. I agree with everything that's been said in the room thus far. I'm not looking for a pause. I absolutely oppose it. There's not a community in this country that thinks that data centers next door to them has added value to their community. There are health consequences. The community in which these data centers exist increase energy costs, water costs. Those community people are asked to conserve energy and resources while the data centers consume endless quantities. So I am in absolute opposition. I am actually shocked that Lyon County is moving forward. It's very sad.
Thank you very much. One moment. Do we see further comments online? And further comments in the room? Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Bob Hanson. And if the Greenlink cannot provide enough electricity for the data centers, will they be able to make their own electricity with their own power plants?
Valid question.
And then what does that look like?
Exactly. We just proved GID.
Mr. Castanelli, Commissioner Castanelli, I don't know if the room heard you. If you'd like to speak up just a little bit.
We just approved the GID last week that allows for that. That's what that whole thing was about. Everybody wants to oppose it because they don't understand it. But yeah, the Northern Nevada Industrial Center that she spoke about, it's not hooking up to NV Energy. We just created a GID to allow them to generate their own power to use within their own industrial center. They can't sell it outside the industrial center, just within their industrial center.
Well, they have to
utilize it when it goes away after a certain number of years. They don't have any tenants that we know about yet within the industrial park. Utilizing it, but they have the ability to, now that we've created that GID, they now have the ability to generate their own power and utilize it within their industrial park.
Will it be solar, wind, or natural gas? And will
Well,
they have to
it's a
follow?
combination of all of it. So they're going to have natural gas generators, they're going to have solar. It's a combination of all of that. And the hope was eventually NV Energy would assume control of that, but we don't, can't speak for NV Energy. They do not want that. It is being built by outside, you know.
Well, will the power centers have to follow, you know, Nevada
Absolutely. All of the
air pollution and all that?
HEPA, all of that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone see requests for comments online? Any additional comments in the room?
I have a question.
You've already used your time on this subject.
Joe Cantor. This is my first time to a civic discussion. So as we are sharing very passionate opinions of this, what happens to these comments? Does it go into a cloud? Does it go to a data center? What happens?
This week.
Please, go ahead.
Secretary.
It'll be recorded on this meeting's minutes and it'll be on that Zoom meeting.
And then
Fully recorded.
as this group is asking questions,
Yep.
who will answer them? Because you are representing us, correct?
Correct.
Then is there someone representing Nevada Energy to defend their decisions? And make sure that they are protecting the public who is already grown very suspicious of what's taking place? You're allies, you're with us, correct?
We will have an opportunity for Nevada Energy to speak when we reach that item in the agenda.
So they're here right now.
Yes, right here, they have a presentation.
And in the back here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And any additional comments in the room? And online? I do not see any online. Any other board members see any online?
No.
We'll move on to agenda item number 5 at 7:23. Item number 5 for possible action, review and adopt the agenda for our July 8th meeting. That is tonight's meeting. Board discussion on the agenda. Public comment. Are you about to speak?
Was, but. The only discussion that I have on this specific agenda is we're going to pass it, yes, but. Why are we, why is it that we have item number 8 back on the agenda when it was already approved? Although we chose not to vote upon it and asking for more attention brought to it, since it is already voted on and approved by the county commissioners, it seems futile and it makes it look almost.
Because in last month's meeting, there was a motion to bring this topic back to this month's agenda, or rather to a future month's agenda. It was seconded and passed with a 4-to-1 vote that we should have this same topic back on future meeting agenda. Public comment on the agenda.
I'm curious, who did that? Decided? Who decided all this? All you guys?
The town board meeting or?
All you guys?
The topic is on tonight's agenda.
From last time, you talked about last time. Was it last?
Why
time?
this item is on this agenda tonight?
When you talked about last time, we come down here. Was it last time you came up here?
It was
What
last
happened?
month in the June meeting. We
Okay.
had item number 8 about Nevada Energy and Greenlink on our agenda. It was discussed, we had public comment, and the board voted to not make a recommendation to the County Board of Commissioners, but instead voted to have this on a future agenda, which is now it's in the future, so it's back on this agenda for tonight. Public comment on the agenda. Is there a motion regarding the agenda?
I make a motion to review and adopt the agenda for July 8th of 2026.
I'll second it.
Any further board member discussion now that we have a motion to approve this agenda? Public comment on the approval of this agenda? Lori, I want to make sure that we record your vote here and we'll note it as being by Zoom.
Okay.
All those for adopting this agenda say aye.
Aye.
Lori, was that an aye?
Yes, aye.
Any nays? The motion passes 5-0. Which brings us to item number 6 for possible action. Approve minutes of the meeting of June 10th, 2026. Board member discussion about those minutes?
Did we get the minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like,
That appears.
I gotta make some corrections still.
okay, okay.
I have one item and it's regarding item 8. Where the minutes reflect, I'll read it. Board decided not to take action on this item until further community outreach is held by Nevada Energy for the Dayton Valley. My notes and a review of the video indicate that the motion was not specific to Nevada Energy having further outreach. It was merely to bring this same topic back at a future meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further board discussion? Public comments on the minutes from last month's meeting? We have a motion on this.
A motion to approve the minutes for June 9th. 2026 with the corrections that we discussed here.
Thank you.
So those corrections will be made tonight.
I'll second.
And now that we have a motion to approve the meeting as minutes from June 10th as amended to reflect that we did not have a specific requirement that Nevada Energy would have outreach, but instead moved it to the to add it to a future agenda. Public comment on that topic? Online? See none. All those in favor of approving the minutes as corrected, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Passes 5-0. Brings us to community reports for presentation only at 7:30. Lyon County Commissioners and or County Manager's Office. I recognize Commissioner John Casanelli.
Chair Castanelli for the record. Try to go through this quickly as I can so we can get on with that presentation. Dayton Valley Road, the sewer project. I haven't heard any updates on that recently, but I know the bore under the road, they got under the water line, so that was one of the big concerns, but it's still slow but sure. Some good news, we got a new park out along Port Churchill Road, the old Chad's Ranch. That was kind of a secret thing. I didn't know about it until the Conservation District meeting the night before it was released to the public. So but it was purchased and donated to the state as a state park. So that's pretty exciting. That is the old Chaves Ranch. It's also the old Brickheart Ranch. So if you're not familiar with that, it's just past the Rolling Hay as you go out the road. So we're looking forward to having that open space added. Another good win was Was successful in transferring the deed from the old historic fire station to Central Line Fire up in Silver City. That old historic building, it's pretty small. It's about ready to fall over. And Silver City volunteers and Central were trying to get it for, I think, 7 or 8 years. And when I found out about it, I was like, we got that done, but apparently they were working on it, and COVID, I know that's an excuse for everything, but COVID hit and it got kind of shuffled under the file cabinet of the DA's office, but we got that done, so I'm looking forward to seeing what preservation and restoration that the volunteers are gonna do with that building. We had 2 new appointments to the planning commission. Congratulations to Chair Davis. Not real happy with the process on that. Board appointments are made, the nominations are made by the county commission chair. We really have no discussion on that. If you're following us at all, you'll see that 2 meetings ago, Chair Keller proposed 2 people. We voted against those. We tabled it. We brought it back around. I had actually encouraged this board to put somebody forward, and I really appreciate the professionalism that Chair Davis has with this board. So I was happy to go along with that vote, but we did appoint 1 for Silver Springs, 1 for Dayton. Still like to see somebody from Yerington. We did have a really good application come through, but we only have the 2 seats open currently. So I'm hoping that person will come back out. I know it's discouraging when you put your application in, it's rejected or not selected, I should say. But that doesn't mean we won't have openings coming up. But I would like to see a representative from each community rather than have them all stacked in one. It makes sense. Particularly with all of the projects that we are potentially going to see coming our way. So I wish we could change the selection process where we would have more discussion rather than the chairperson putting his 2 favorites ahead, but it's state law and that's the way it works. We had the second hearing on the approval of the ordinance that creates the general improvement district that we spoke with this gentleman about just a moment ago. That has been something that has been discussed since before I was on the commission. It's nothing new. We talked about it quite a bit. I was initially against forming a GID because I don't want to manage it, frankly. But as we went on and learned more about it, it makes sense. The Northern Nevada Industrial Center was told by NV Energy that they wouldn't be able to have power for a number of years, 20, 30 something. Rather than wait, they wanted to be able to start construction and development as early as they possibly could. So they came up with the idea of this GID, their own power generation plant, only within that industrial park. They won't be selling it outside the industrial park. And if they do not get any tenants within that industrial park, it expires after a number of years. So they are talking about potentially data centers there, but it's also open for other industrial projects as well. It's not just data centers. It could be anything. Okay. And that's consumer paid. It has nothing to do with NV Energy or NV Energy customers. That it's all the customers just within that industrial park. We adopted the Gold Canyon Area Drainage Master Plan. You may remember the Silver Springs one was reviewed earlier and adopted. Those are ongoing efforts for flood mitigation. We've identified a lot of undersized culverts, particularly NDOT's culverts. I wish.
Well, if you guys are gonna go over to the cafe, I'm gonna head over there.
Okay.
I'll see y'all.
Yeah, please.
Anyway,
I know, right? And Monday.
NDOT's culverts.
I don't see why not. I was saying,
Yeah.
Yes.
The culverts on NDOT's Highway 50, particularly through the stretch from around Copper Canyon out and Stagecoach are undersized. We identified that and the engineers have identified that in these plans. NDOT so far hasn't agreed to help us by hardening those. But you can see in the alluvial flooding where it comes down and it hits the highway and it backs up. It's not getting under fast enough to carry those floodwaters. So as a result of this last one that we had on June 19th, the last Board of Commissioners, we declared an emergency declaration regarding the mudslides. There's been nearly $300,000 identified in damages to private and public properties. So declaring that emergency will hopefully give us access to state and federal funding to help with those cleanup efforts. We approved the voting canvass for the primary election. The turnout in Dayton was 32.11%. So we got to get out there, folks. Get out and vote. The total countywide vote was 29%, which was 12,764 people. Countywide. This one is going to be something you might want to write down. We set a date for a data center workshop on August 3rd at 9 a.m. It's a Monday in the chambers. This is to create a policy for data center development, as you were speaking about. And we're aware of all the concerns. Water consumption obviously is a big one in our state, and other environmental concerns. We were talking about the chemicals, the forever chemicals. So closed loop systems that we're looking at, particularly the ones in Story County, are a good model. They don't utilize the forever chemicals. They do use glycol, but it's not released anywhere. The preferred method that I talked to our county staff about, closed loop systems, not approving any type of evaporative system unless they're using reclaimed or recycled water, which again, Story County is using a ton of recycled water to cool these things, and it can be done with very, very little water consumption, and without the introduction of the forever chemicals.
Question. Sorry to interrupt. Is there any way that it can be brought to the commissioners to do a data center thing like that on a weekend where people don't have to lose time from work? Because the general population right now can't afford a day at work.
Likely not, and the reason that meetings are held at 9 o'clock in the morning is because they're so staff involved. Okay, so we've got county manager, we've got county manager staff, we've got the planning department, the building department, we've got all of these folks that are working 9-to-5ers that they're working too, and that's their work day. That's why the county business is conducted during business hours and not in the evening. So this workshop is going to be the first draft of the data center criteria. So we will have the ability, and Mr. Woolley said it earlier, although he and I don't always agree, get involved. Show up at that meeting or send us an email. Let us know the concerns. We know water is a concern. That frankly, in all the designs that I've seen has been addressed pretty well. The noise issue, they have to follow all of the NEPA guidelines. It's really out of our hands when it gets to that point. They have to follow all the environmental stuff. They get checked regularly. Most of these are nowhere near, fortunately, residential. So, and we already have a setback. We approved a setback requirement on this, on solar and these things. Half mile, I think it's mile or half mile on solar projects, so that's gonna be part of the data center stuff too. There's gonna be setback requirements, there's gonna be water consumption, max limits, and all of that environmental stuff will be part of our policy going forward. There are a couple that have already gotten approvals, but this is going to be a step going forward. I haven't heard anything regarding the moratorium at this point. I wouldn't be surprised that comes out at the next legislative session, possibly. Given the temperature and room right on data centers, so that could come from the legislature, but it hasn't been discussed at the county level yet. So, but we do want to get ahead of it and get sound policy in place to protect ourselves and protect our communities. And again, August 3rd, 9 a.m. And we're going to create a policy for data center development, smart development. We approved a conditional use permit for the Boys and Girls Club in Silver Springs. Boys and Girls Club of Mason Valley, they're finishing up the early learning center here in Dayton. They got a tremendous grant opportunity to build not only a clubhouse, the early learning center, and the gymnasium all in one shot out in Silver Springs, where it's desperately needed. So we got that conditional use approved. They've been annexed into the Silver Springs GID for their utilities. So looking forward to that moving forward here this year. Their grant funding was contingent on construction beginning this year. So we're trying to help them out as much as we can with that plan. We approved some park tax monies for the park in Silver Springs, has some sculptures, so we approved some funding for that. And also some new tables out at the Dresser Park in Smith Valley. Nothing this year in Dayton. I think the parks in Dayton got some love last year, so they kind of spread it around. We had several contracts approved related to ongoing sewer improvements around the Dayton utilities area. And then the big one that we're all here tonight, we approved the conditional use permit and the application from Energy Energy for the transmission line. So the Green Link, you haven't read through the packets and information that has been floated around a long time. They applied for the PUC through the PUC, I think in 2020. Got approvals through BLM, NEPA, Bureau of the Department of the Interior, all of that stuff got done around 2022, I think. So it's not new. It's a 525K. Well, the Green Link itself, it's 525 coming up from Vegas to Yerington. Yerington, it splits off at the Fort Churchill, Mason Valley. And what we approved is that 345 line that's coming mostly on BLM land. Comes from Mason Valley, kind of over the hill into Fort Churchill, kind of follows the canyon, hops over by the Aspen Creek Ridge and the water tank and comes in over by Cotton Canyon, crosses over Highway 50. And I believe the closest it comes to any homes near Dayton is about a mile from Cotton Canyon. So it's not near anybody's homes. They're big lines. So it's, we talked about rolling blackouts. That's what this is designed to do, is prevent rolling blackouts. And this isn't coming up to, I'll let you guys talk about it. This isn't coming up to feed the data centers. The data centers are coming here because we're bringing this line here. So it is for future development demand, so we can meet that demand. It creates the redundancy that we need. It's just like our sewer project right here in Dayton. We're upsizing our sewer pipe to meet the demand. This is upsizing our power line to meet the demand. So it's not it's not the devil. Is it ideal? No. The power poles are big. They are metal. but they are the patinaed metal, so they look like wood. Most of us here in Dayton aren't even gonna see it. It does cut through and head towards Stagecoach, and it's a little closer to properties there. There's 26 private properties that are affected by it. 25 of those provided the affidavits. The 26th guy opted to go with the eminent domain. That was his decision. But all of those have now been satisfied, and the easements have been procured, and this has been studied a long, long time, and this was the least impactful route for this to go. And, so I know Crystal, she calling me out, I want to call you out too, because
Let's go.
Sitting in that chair, you've got to inform yourself. Okay, and it's not, I can't come in here and make a decision for this board and present that decision in front of the county commissioners. It don't work that way. Number one, I got open meeting laws. There's an opportunity on every single board of commissioner agenda for a cab report. I don't think I've ever seen one come in from this board. I think Jim might have came on June once or twice. Stagecoach was there. She presented. So you have that opportunity. But it's not for me to go and say, oh, that's the Dayton cab. I can't go further with this. That's on you guys.
That, and I will respond. I spoke for myself, not this board. And as a citizen who is volunteering, who has only had a 2-hour training lesson on open meeting laws, we don't know all of this stuff, period. We don't. We're not going to know it, but it does in this specific case. Although we all know it's going to be passed, and we knew it was. And yes, it's been probably, as you quoted, talked about for years. For years, I've lived here and I've never heard of it. For years, I've come to these meetings. I've seen you for years. And all I wanted to hear was the Dayton cab made a choice not to. And then go on about it. That's the only thing I personally was like, if you're my county commissioner that I voted for, then I want you to speak for us here in this little boardroom.
I can't represent this board at that board.
So you can't make a comment and state that I attended the board?
I can say I attended the board, and I say that every time.
And they chose not to?
I can't say that you decided not to support it. No, I can't.
Okay. Okay.
I can say I was here, but I can't say that you decided that you're not going to vote.
Okay,
and it was made clear at that meeting, I couldn't speak about this project at the last meeting because it was on our agenda. And I'm not allowed to do that, right?
Right.
I got plenty to say tonight, and I'll tell you, you were informed that it was going to be voted on. So
yes.
To have it approved and then come out and say what happened, that's ridiculous.
Well, and I think that the system,
it's going to be voted on before your next meeting, so.
and I will say that I do believe that the system is broken. And this is a clear cut case, because if this has been going on and we knew it was going to be on the agenda for you guys, it shouldn't have been put on our agenda 30 days in advance, without giving the community more of an opportunity to get informed. And for us to get more people here and more bodies to learn. Because I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying and what we need to bring in for infrastructure. What I'm saying is our community is not educated. Self-included.
I don't disagree with
Self-included.
you.
And
How do we
understand
fix that? How do we fix that? Because you put your agenda out. You guys post
I
your
think we
agenda,
do it
post our
wrong.
agenda.
I think we gotta figure out a better way, more eyes on it.
3 days minimum.
Industrial, from residential to
Needs to be
industrial,
3 weeks or a
2020.
month.
We didn't get to vote on
3
that.
days is the minimum allowed, or that's the minimum requirement. It should be
I'll comment one last thing about the topic of the timing, is that items accumulate to be put on an agenda for the time since before the previous meeting until a few days before the posting requirement. So that all those things that need to be on the agenda can be added to the agenda. If we add items a month in advance, then new items will come up between then and now that won't be put on the agenda. And so items accumulate until about 1 week before the meeting. And at that time, the agenda is set and it's given over to the county and they post it to the required sites.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with them. Like I said, like Bill said, people need to get involved. I first heard about this, I was on the Comstock Historic Commission. And the proposed routes came before us way back then. That's when Governor Sisolak was still in office. They were talking about it coming, the Historic Commission got involved because it was going through or near the Lago Canyon where the petroglyphs are. So we were making sure it was, it's a sensitive area. So that was years ago. So yeah, but I don't disagree. We have to have a better mechanism of getting the agendas and getting the information out there. I don't have an answer for that.
And I think that part of it is like a marketing deal, right? To me, in my mind, this should have been marketed at every one of the Dayton events that we have had. So that way, every single person that goes out there knows what's going on. But we don't. They're not actually there. So this is like dropped on us at the last minute. Although you guys on the higher level have been discussing this for years. Those of us that are throwing disc golf and having a beer on a Friday night, we're not sitting around talking about this. When someone like me has that conversation with the people at work, they're shocked. They're like, what are you talking about? And so that's where my frustration comes from. I'm not fighting that. I'm fighting the fact that our people don't know. I didn't know. And I've lived here 20 years, raised 2 kids.
I didn't hear
That's
60
all I
years. I
want
didn't
to do.
know.
So, and I did not mean to be disrespectful, and I did
No,
not speak on
I'm not
behalf of
trying
the
to be
board.
argumentative, but I'm saying, if you're in these seats, it's your job to be prepared. That's part of it.
But if I get the thing for a week in advance, I mean, 3 days in
Yeah.
advance, I can't sit there. You guys can't get enough people in your own seats or online. So how am I gonna do that on this level? Do I throw it at a bar?
I've gotten our agenda and said, what the hell is this? It's happened to me.
And that's kind of what it
So
is.
I get it, but
We're in a spot. We gotta figure out the solution, and I think we can do that as a team. But, and that's how we can get more people in these seats on the Zoom meeting if we work together and not against each other to get this out faster and sooner to the public.
I'm here.
That's my deal.
Every time.
And I'm sorry, that was
And I
passionate.
want to take a bit more time, so I know they want to present the questions real quick. Ms. Keats.
I have a question about the process, and I do appreciate your transparency about how it gets accumulated and then it's just a week before you get. And I also appreciate the opportunity. Your heart's intent was that more people got to understand what was going on, and that's why Agenda 8 came up again. That was the heart's intent. More people get, and look, you have more people trying to learn,
Thank you.
right? Whether it got passed or not. So I have a question about the purpose of this committee. If he can't, he's the only one here from the commission, and he can't take what you're saying to the commission, then what is, and I'm not saying this disrespectfully, what is the purpose of the commission?
I'll answer
They
that.
have to prepare their statement.
When one of our boards, like the Dayton board, sees an issue and we take a vote to recommend approval or recommend denial of an issue, then we send a letter of transmittal to the county and it gets distributed to the Board of Commissioners and generally gets distributed to the Planning Commission. At this particular meeting last month, we did not take an action to recommend or to an action to deny recommendation for the Greenlink project. So we did not transfer any recommendation one way or another to the county commission. On those occasions, for instance, there was a proposed gravel operation last year. And that was an occasion where we took a vote and we made a recommendation, and that was transmitted to the county board of commissioners.
Thank you.
That's definitely, that is the process exactly. What should have happened is, could have made a motion to recommend that we don't approve it. They vote on that, it then gets forwarded in a written format to the county commission, know you would have that. I can't just go, hey guys, they don't like this. Doesn't work that way.
One last question.
Why not?
Is Commissioner Casanelli's time, so we'll respect that.
Yeah, it's open meeting laws.
I don't understand, I'm sorry, I don't understand that, but to me, that's not right. The people, we're supposed to find this, be right, to help people, us people. All people in here. So you tell them that they'll vote, they should have voted, then that comes to us, and then we have it. It's the process.
So the board made an error by not voting. Or we could have chose to write a transmittal stating that the board chose not to vote to get more people involved. So that's on our
If you guys
education
would've-
side.
If you would have said, we are taking no action because we want this to be held for further discussion, that would have
Suffice.
weight. Whether or not my fellow commissioners went along with that, I don't have any control of that. I could have voted nay, but it would still pass. So,
Absolutely.
but
And that's not the
nothing-
question.
With nothing, it was like, and their call, Mr. Keller called, are there any cab reports? And Mandy was there from Stagecoach. She mentioned that it was, you know, they weren't particularly thrilled with the proximity to some of the homes in Stagecoach. That's where it seems to be closer to homes. It's not a big issue in Dayton, but it was heard, at least it was heard. That would be the process. Yeah, I apologize if I seem argumentative, but.
Again, I apologize.
Gotta follow the rules.
No, and I apologize if I seem argumentative. I'm not. I'm learning. No one gave us a handbook. They don't.
There is actually one, I know.
Good. I mean, I think there's only one, but it's not.
It's probably not.
Let's wait till the next public comment period. We're gonna move on to item 7B, public safety. And our sheriff's department / Nevada Highway Patrol. I recognize Commander Ortiz here representing the Lyon County Sheriff's Office.
I'll be quick. I'm exhausted by that.
Sorry.
So for the month of June, we had, Commander Ortiz, Lyon County Sheriff's Office. I'm the Dayton commander. For the month of June, we had 81 reported incidents down here in Dayton. And then it's separate from Mound House now. We had separate calls up there for service. Down here, we had everything from burglaries, robbery, child abuse, name it. It's on this list, sadly, but it's the nature of the beast. Our 4th of July incidents here in Dayton, it was pretty minimal. We had a lot of DUI arrests and a lot of issued citations. And so like from a cop's point of view, that was a quiet weekend, just good from these sort of things. So any questions for me?
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, did a good job, Mr.
David.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Commander.
He's out. Bye.
That brings us to item 7C, Planning Department and our Planning Commission. I recognize Lisa Nash on Zoom. Lisa, do you care to make any comments or reports at this time?
Sure, very brief as well. Lisa Nash, Senior Planner with Lyon County Community Development. I just want to say we've had a really, as I've said in the past, we put monthly or every other month reports in the Board of Commissioner minutes that include how many permits we've done in the last month or two, how many building permits we've seen, how many planning, and some of the summaries of big projects that are coming forward. So that is all available for you there. It has been a very busy first 6 months of the year for us. We've had a lot of big projects, some of which you've discussed here. And as I have said and want to keep reiterating every time I am before this board, please give us feedback. Good, bad, indifferent, send us those feedback reports. I can't include anything in a public as backup or public comment or CAB backup if I don't receive it. And even when I'm sitting here, I can't take this back either. I hear this, I take in your comments. I do consider it when I'm writing reports and what I'm doing, but I can't take this to the board either. So as I have asked and hope we continue to see feedback from you guys, it really does help inform how we can present things and what the board can hear. And planning staff, we are here to answer questions to help you guys. And if you have procedural questions, you also have the county manager's office, which can help you guys navigate how to be a board and open meeting law and your procedures. So please reach out to us as staff and let us help you be the best board you can and get the input you need to have to make good decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate your attendance. This brings us to item 7D, Utilities Department. Anyone here in the Utilities Department? Anyone care to explain the plumbing issue in the utility? Sorry, there was a water leak about 3.5 weeks ago that put a whole section of the building out of commission. Item 7E is a representative for the Chamber of Commerce. Seeing no hands for a Chamber of Commerce report. Item 7F, Central Lyon Fire and Rescue.
Good evening, Ryan McIntosh, Assistant Fire Chief for Central Lyon Fire. Some quick statistics. These are always a month dated, the way we run our reports. The last month we ran 16 fire calls, 271 EMS calls, 176 of those resulted in EMS transports, which, as you guys all know, the citizens here, they're all outside the county because we have no hospital here. So 176 of those a month takes quite a bit of unit hour time to get those people to the hospital and our crews back in quarters. We had 4 motor vehicle accidents, no vehicle fires, and 103 other calls. So those are your aid and assist calls like that. For a total of 390 calls in the previous month. We gave 21 mutual aid responses to our neighboring fire departments, and we received 4 aid assistance calls. So other quick statistics for our prevention division, they reviewed 2 commercial projects, 1 small commercial and 1 retrofit for sprinkler and fire alarm system, and 33 residential building permits. For significant incidents, we had to bring out the regional bomb team or explosive ordnance disposal team for some old naval flares that weren't properly labeled, and they looked like dynamite, and so we made sure that those were safely disposed of. And we had, looks like 1, 2, 3 fatal car accidents. As you guys all know, that Highway 50, it seems in this last 6 months has been very deadly for us. And so 3 fatal accidents, 1 of those was a vehicle versus pedestrian. We had a technical rescue for a horse in a water pit or mound house. And then we had an ATV accident, that we had to, it was in a remote area and we had to use a, back to get them out. And, while I'm up here, I'd like to thank, Commissioner Casanelli for helping us, get on the Boulder County Commission agenda to get that deed transfer for the historic firehouse in, Silver City transferred to the fire district, so that way we can work with the Silver City volunteers to hopefully do at least some, rusted decay to keep that building from the early 1900s stabilized in place so it doesn't wash down the hill. And I think that's really it for me. It's been a quick month, so now you guys are starting to see my face here about every quarter, along with the rest of our administration and command staffs. Any questions for me while I'm here? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This brings up 7G, Central Lyon County Parks and Recreation. Anyone here representing Parks and Recreation? Right.
So Alberto Gonzalez with the Central Line Parks and Rec. So we did not have a meeting today because there was no quorum. The good news is that there are 2 more applicants for the position, therefore we can be managed fully and then be able to have the meeting that we need. The only new news from last month was that surveying has started for the Mark Twain Park. So that's good news. Something is happening that is moving there. But that is about it. Are there any questions?
Did they get a name yet for the new park?
I don't believe. Not my understanding it's supposed to change, but I can find out.
Oh, I thought they were doing something like asking for names or something.
Yeah, it's a state, yes.
Oh, that was a state park.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was your name one more time, sir?
Alberto Gonzalez.
Thank you very much for your report. Item 7H, any other Lyon County departments or boards? Seeing none, I'll move right to item number 8 at 8:08. Nevada Energy, Green Link Nevada Transmission Project, Common Tie Facilities. For possible action, forward a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners regarding the request by Nevada Energy for a conditional use permit for 345 kV transmission lines. The lines extend from the Walker River substation in Mason Valley to south of US 50 in Dayton, spanning the general land use areas of North, Mason Valley, and Stagecoach, with a combined total length of approximately 103 miles. The project affects portions of 26 parcels, and I will forego reading the numbers of the parcels here. It is listed in the agenda. At this time, I call for board member discussion on item number 8.
I think we already did it. John and I did, got this out. And I think that we got seats, we got people in the seats with this situation.
Okay. Seeing no board member discussion, I will invite Nevada Energy to do a summary report of the project and then to answer public questions.
Charles Hutchinson, and I'm with WSP. WSP is an engineering and environmental consulting firm. And we are the owner's engineer and the owner's environmental scientist for NV Energy. We're working to provide engineering services, the design and engineering of the transmission line, as well as the environmental permitting, which is particularly the area that I'm concentrating in. I'm the permitting engineer for all of the local, state, and federal non-NEPA permits that are needed for the project. I'll be presenting on this screen just as we did last month. So at that time, we had everyone kind of just switching their chairs around to do the presentation on the screen. Tonight's presentation will be largely the same as the one that we gave back in June 10th, but I've added some slides that walk through, as we presented to the Board of County Commissioners last Thursday, the BLM's NEPA process that basically lines out how we got to where we are right now from basically 2020, as John had mentioned, when NV Energy had filed its PUCN application to amend its 2018 integrated resource plan. Every couple of years, NV Energy has to provide the Public Utilities Commission of Nevada with a resource plan to show that we need X more miles of transmission to service this community. We've seen a lot more demand here. We need more transmission. They have to make their case to the Public Utilities Commission before anything gets permitted or built. Ultimately, the Public Utilities Commission is the one that sets the rate, says, here's what you're allowed to build, here's what we think the cost of the customer should be, and NV Energy has to comply with that. They have to follow the same rules that everyone else, from public utility standpoint, has to follow, whether it's highway, water line, sewers, anything like that that's in the public interest, for public infrastructure. They're also obligated to follow the same requirements. Theirs is just happens to be on the electric transmission side. So the presentation is largely the same, but like I said, I've added some slides to talk about the BLM NEPA process and the timeline from how they got from 2020 to the present. I've also added some graphics that show we've done some photo simulations in a couple of areas, and I'll show you the one that's closest to Dayton with an existing panel and proposed panel about what the transmission line will look like. I'll have to zoom in pretty close because from where we took the photo simulation, it's about a mile from where the actual line will cross. And it's almost indiscernible unless you're really knowing where to look. So I'll zoom into that photo simulation when we get there. And then I added more information about the EIS, the environmental impact statement of the BLM road for the project. And as we presented on Thursday in front of the Board of County Commissioners, there's a long list of resources that were considered in the EIS, everything from air quality and water quality to public health and safety, socioeconomics, threatened and endangered species, and cultural resources. But we'll get into that. I just wanted to kind of paint the picture of what the presentation is and how it's largely the same as what we presented last month, but with some added information just on the BLM process and where we are right now with the county process and update. Where we are with Lyon County, Torrey County, and the city of Reno, particularly for the common tide facilities that we're applying for right now. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. See if I can make that full screen.
Upright. Where's that? More?
So just to begin, here's some introductions. Like I said, I'm Charles Hutchinson. I work for WSP, and WSP is the owner's engineer for NV Energy. With me tonight are some representatives from NV Energy. We've got Adam Goddard here. He's the project engineering director. We've got Tiffany Beach, who's the director of transmission development. Alex, hope I'm not saying your last name correctly, but Drozdov. Okay, she's our manager of community relations. And then we've got representatives also from NV Energy's operations side. So if you have non-Greenlink questions that they can be answered by our operations staff, Sandra and I remember Sharon are here to answer questions that are more specific to overall NV Energy questions. So what we'll do at the beginning here is just talk about Greenlink Nevada transmission project in general, and then we'll get into the common tide facilities specifically that we're applying for and that we received approval for last Thursday during the board hearing, and how those facilities relate to the Dayton area. We'll have some contact information at the end, a website and an email address where you can post comments. And then we also took everyone's questions from last month's presentation and listed those. One of the folks who was with me here last month, one of the junior folks on the team, was recording all the comments and making sure we had a list of all the questions that were asked, so we could keep a record of that, so that we know what's most important to the public's viewpoint as far as what topics are most important to them. So we've kept a log of all those questions from last month's meeting, and we'll do the same thing tonight. She's on. Her name is Prima Krishnan. She's you might see her on the online meeting here, but she and Linda Bissett, who's also our our stakeholder outreach manager for WSP on the project, is also on the call. So both of them are here taking notes and just to make sure that we capture everything from the public's point of view. So as I mentioned last month, we'll talk about the GreenLink Nevada transmission project components. There's three basic components. There's GreenLink West, there's Common Tie, and then there's GreenLink North. GreenLink West on the map here basically starts in the Las Vegas area and extends generally along the western side of the state. It's the left-hand side of this triangle, if you will. And it extends from Las Vegas up to Yerington, just north of Yerington, where we're constructing the Walker River substation right now. As John Castanelli mentioned, from Las Vegas up to Yerington, that transmission line in red there is a 525 kV transmission line. That's 525,000 volts. Common tie area that we're here tonight to talk about is where we originate from the Walker River substation, which is about 10 miles north of Yerington. There are three 345 kV transmission lines, so 345,000 volt transmission lines that extend west from the Walker River substation, generally north and west up to Story County and the city of Reno. One of those three 345 kV transmission lines ends at the Mira Loma substation in the city of Reno, which is an existing substation. The two 345 kV lines terminate at the existing Comstock Meadows substation, which is in unincorporated Story County. We'll get into more about how these lines relate to each other in the next couple of slides. But so GreenLink West is the first component, Common Tie is the second component, and GreenLink North is the third component. That stretches basically across the central part of the state. From the Walker River substation that's being constructed right now north of Yerington, GreenLink North extends generally east to the existing Robinson Summit substation, which is in White Pine County near Ely. That GreenLink North transmission line is also a 525 kV transmission line. And when GreenLink West, Common Tie, and GreenLink North are all constructed, basically they form what we like to see basically referred to as a transmission triangle. And I'll get to that in the next slide to talk about how it's a redundant, reliable, and resilient system that provides a stronger loop system than just having the existing system that we have in place right now. The line on the right-hand side of the map there, the solid red line is an existing 525 kV transmission line that runs from Las Vegas up to Ely. That's been in service for several years now. That's NV Energy's online project. That was the first statewide transmission connection. Basically, GreenLink West, Common Tie, and GreenLink North form a second statewide transmission system so that when complete, there's a loop system where NV Energy can redirect power in both directions, northwest, southeast, whatever the demand might be, to be able to provide a continuous power to its existing and future customers. That's a bit about just how GreenLink Nevada transmission project has been designed and the major components that make up the overall system. The purpose of the GreenLink Nevada transmission project is basically three main purposes: redundancy, resiliency, and reliability. Redundancy means that if there is a failure on the line, NV Energy can redirect power from one point on the line to another point without having to cut off power to existing customers or future customers. They've got the ability to transmit power, like I mentioned, in both directions or in other directions to service existing customers. Should there be a fault on the line, they can redirect electricity to flow so that power outages are minimized. The resiliency part of it comes into play with not only are there substations and transmission lines that are part of the project, but there are also telecommunications facilities that allow the substations and the transmission lines to essentially communicate with each other and radio back information to NV Energy's control center, where if there's a failure on one part of the line or if there's conditions that in the substation may be overheating, those kinds of parameters are monitored by NV Energy's control center, and they can communicate with the system and send crews out to troubleshoot problems and maintain equipment that might be in need of repair. The reliability part is that, like I was mentioning, the transmission line on the right-hand side there, the online project, is the first transmission line upgrade that was made a few years ago. Greenlink West, Common Time, Greenlink North provide that second statewide transmission connection. So that when complete, it forms a loop system that's stronger and more resilient than having disparate lines that don't connect to each other. Some key considerations to keep in mind is that Nevada Senate Bill 448 mandated NV Energy to build this infrastructure. In their Senate bill, the state mandated that NV Energy put in place certain high voltage transmission system upgrades by the end of 2028. So NV Energy has a state mandate to construct and to bring into service these transmission lines by the end of 2028. So December 31st, 2028 is the date that we're all working toward to get Greenlink West, Common Time, Greenlink North placed into service. It's being designed to handle the current and future electricity needs of existing and future customers. The current system right now can't support additional electricity needs. That's why Greenlink West, Common Time, Greenlink North are needed, so that in the future we can provide a reliable electricity to those customers. The primary purpose is capacity and reliability, kind of building on the purpose there at the top of their page. Basically, all major projects that connect to Greenlink have to have interconnection studies done, whether it's a commercial development, such as a solar farm or a data center, or it could be a residential development. It could be loads that are in the residential space and in the commercial space. All of those different entities have to conduct interconnection studies to see whether or not there's enough capacity to even tie into NV Energy system. And if there is, they have to go through the same kinds of processes that NV Energy went through to receive approval. That's at the state, federal, and local level. And based on that, they have to make sure that there's enough capacity available. And if there's any upgrades that are needed to the system, they have to identify those and figure out how they're going to upgrade the system to provide electric service. So this next slide just kind of goes over the overall project starts and how Greenlink West and how Greenlink North, those projects came about as a result of NV Energy's filing with the Public Utilities Commission back in July of 2020. So at that time, NV Energy filed a joint application with the Public Utilities Commission to amend its 2018 Integrated Resource Plan. Shortly thereafter, in March of 2021, the PUCN granted NV Energy the approval for the project components that make up the Greenlink Nevada transmission project. And then in July 2021, the Nevada governor signed Senate Bill 448, mandating the December 31st, 2028 date that NV Energy needs to have this infrastructure up and energized. So that set in motion the Greenlink West transmission project, which started with the BLM NEPA process that started in May of 2022 and ran through September of 2024 when the BLM issued their record of decision for the project, which is their summary document that says, here's the proposed action, here's what we looked at for alternatives, and here's the alternatives that we've identified as having the least environmental impact when we compare all of the different alternatives and all the different resources that we look at. Here's the set of alternatives that provide the least environmental impact, and this is the decision that Secretary of Interior is moving forward with for the project. From September 2024 to the present, we've been engaged with state and local governments doing all the permitting that I'll get to a little bit later in the presentation, but there's a long list of permits that are needed, not just the federal authorization. We have to go through the federal and NEPA process because we're on federal land. Anytime you're on federal land or you're using federal money, you have to go through the National Environmental Policy Act process because all of us in this room are taxpayers to the BLM. They manage the land on behalf of the American people, and they can't simply make a decision about a project without having a thorough environmental review and a public process because it's our money that the BLM is using to make these decisions. So they went through that process from May 2022 to September 2024 for Green Lake West. And like I said, we're in the state and local government permitting process right now. For Green Lake North, they're doing the same. They have to follow the same regulations. So that timeline was May 2023 through October 2026. The BLM is still in the process of finalizing the environmental impact statement for Green Lake North. And we expect a record decision in October of 2026 for that project. And we're currently in the process of working with local and state government agencies to get the permits needed for Green Lake North. So to drill down a little bit more on the Common-Tie and the Green Lake West process. Common-Tie, those facilities were included in the BLM's Green Lake West environmental impact statement. So in May of 2022, the BLM published a notice of intent to prepare an EIS. And they have to update their resource management plan accordingly. That's basically their land use plan that shows where different resources are situated, where utility corridors are mapped. And so when they go through the EIS process, they also have to update their own internal resource management plans to comply with what they're telling the public in the EIS. In May of 2023, about a year later, they published a draft EIS that was available for public review and comment. And in June of 2024, they published a final EIS and a record and the resource management plan amendment, again for public review and comment. And then in September of 2024, they issued their record of decision for the project. And the project documents are all on the BLM's website. If you go to that website address there, that first link will take you to the overall page. But if you go to that document site page, you can type in that address. Basically, it'll take you right to the BLM's NEPA page for this project. But the document site page gets you directly to all the different documents, draft EIS, the final EIS, the record of decision, all the public scoping comments that were collected during the process are all on that document site page, as well as all the maps that you want to look at. Another part of the BLM's process is consultation and coordination with affected agencies, the public. One thing that the BLM did a little differently for this project was before they even issued a notice of intent in the Federal Register that they were going to prepare an EIS, they instituted some public input workshops in June of 2021, November of 2021, and then in February of 2022 to get upfront public feedback on what the public thought might be the most important topics to discuss in the EIS. Then they opened it up for a public scoping period, which is the more normal course of action. They have to solicit comments from the public about what resources they need to analyze in the EIS, because they're experts on lots of things, but they don't know the local land the way that the local folks know their land and know the resources that are important to them. And maybe they have more information at the state or local level than the BLM has at the national level. So that's why they institute scoping comment period to gather information from the public so that they can make the best decisions moving forward.
Excuse me. So how were people notified? Because I can tell you every single day I see about 10,000 commercials for power shift, blah, blah, blah. But I have never seen one commercial saying, hey, we're doing a meeting for this or that. And you guys spend a huge marketing campaign, but you're not telling us when we can come to a meeting. So how do I don't get a letter.
Yeah, so it's published in regional newspapers. It was published in the Reno Gazette, I believe. It's also published at the post offices in Yerington. There was also a posting at the Rayleigh's grocery store in Yerington.
So you're moving, so essentially it's the bare minimum legal that you could do, so that way you can get it through. That's the bare minimum. I don't know how many people still look at a paper in hand anymore. I worked there for 20 years.
We don't read the Reno Gazette.
I mean, who reads the Reno Gazette? Who reads, so it's literally the bare minimum is what you're saying. It's what the court requires.
They have to publish it having a newspaper of general circulation.
Right, absolutely, just like a divorce
Every
decree.
single- yeah.
Just like a divorce decree. So essentially, you're not really letting the public know. We don't go and hang out at the post office anymore.
In your.
Right, in Irvington,
If I
let
can,
alone the one here.
if I can elaborate to what Charles said,
You are.
this, oh, Adam got her up and the other thing, sorry about that. This is the Bureau of Land Management's Environmental Policy Act process. So they're the ones doing the study. We cannot interfere with that process. So NV Energy cannot publish anything out in the public forum. This is run by the federal government. So they're the ones that are leading all this. So I understand what you're saying, but NV Energy can have no play in that process till it's done.
Okay, that's
Otherwise,
fair, because it looks like you guys.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
makes it look like it's your guys' team.
Right.
The way this is presented. So that's why I'm bringing the questions, because it looks like it's your team.
It's the BLM's process.
So then the question goes back to the BLM. We should have that conversation with the
Right,
BLM.
right. The NEPA is the National Environmental Policy Act. That is the federal permitting process by which the federal government does all their environmental analyses and studies. So NEPA is Bureau of Land Management.
So you're saying the public input workshops were the
Driven by the
responsibly-
BLM.
So they the ones that led them?
Correct. We are not allowed to participate in that unless they ask us to show up at those meetings. They're the ones that drive that. And the reason for that is if we were to participate in any fashion during that process, it can be seen as interfering with the public process. And they can't have that. That's against federal rules. So there has to be a distinction between those two.
So then essentially they did the bare minimum on their own to not let the general public know. So that way we can continue the conversation and get this process to where we are here.
They followed their standard process,
Yeah.
but they do with all permitting.
And that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, Green Link was no different than any other project that they played.
Absolutely. We know once it's already done, signed, sealed and delivered, and we're just the ones that get the formalities afterwards. That's what it's basically saying. And you guys are stuck on the market for it because it is your project.
Remember, Charles right now is just going through the initial phases of that during the NEPA process, which he's probably gonna get, to speak to it for him, but they coordinate with all of the local governments, all the local tribes, other agencies, regional planning agencies. So it's not just this initial aspect of it. They're meeting with representatives of all the communities within Nevada.
Why is it
Yeah, they
there's
were
so
never
many
here.
here? They're doing the same thing. All of you here to do this. Why are you here? Do this. You know,
Why are there more than
you're,
one person here tonight?
why, what's taking so many of you?
Because we all covered different aspects of this project for the company. So some of us are in the technical realm like I am, some are in the construction side, some in the permitting side. So we want to make sure that we have enough representation here to answer any questions you may have with the entire project, because we all have different pieces of it.
So when were you guys allowed to talk about the project?
After the record of decision was made.
Okay, and when was that?
That was September of 2024.
So in 2024, September 2024, you could have been at every event in Dayton letting us know that you're doing this project, right?
We started meeting after that stage with the different county governments and city governments throughout Nevada.
There's no city out here except for.
No, I'm saying in Nevada. So
Right.
there are city governments, there are local, there are county governments. So we started having those pre-application meetings with them to apply us in those Green Link ones that.
Okay.
We've been traveling throughout the state, having those meetings for the last couple. I understand we can't meet with every resident in the public, but that's why we go through the.
It doesn't make sense to me, there's that many of you here. You know, it's like two people. You're not 5, 8.
We want to make sure we're answering your questions comprehensively.
I respect that. And that's where my question is, and I'm probably annoying the heck out of everybody right now, but my question really comes down to this. I mean, seriously, if this has been known since 2024, I've lived here and been on this board since 2024. I don't think I've ever seen y'all here. I could be mistaken, but we don't have a lot of action here. So I'm pretty sure if I saw you guys come in, I would at least remember. So that's where my concern comes down to, is the lack of community. Truly the lack of community. That's where the issue is. We can't keep telling people to get involved when they don't know that there's something to get involved in. So that's the problem. And we don't have real community conversation. So it seems like a you against us situation, and that's not how it's supposed to feel.
A lot of people still don't know about it. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but a lot of people do not know what that's.
No.
So maybe if we let Charles
I know.
continue, he's going to continue explaining the other involvement and then getting the details. And we'll be here as long as you want tonight.
Are you ordering pizza on your credit card?
If we need to, we will.
We can stop there, so, okay, I don't know.
I could use some sleep before food, but yeah, we can do whatever you need.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Is there going to be a replay of this? Is there somewhere we can watch this? I have to leave, and I would like to know what happens after I leave.
In generally speaking, for these board meetings,
Yes, this is my first board meeting, so yes.
the recording is stored so that in the event that there's any dispute about who said what, or that the motion was or wasn't passed, then it's a record for those in county government to go back to and see the meeting. It's not presented in a public forum for anyone to view it.
I see. Okay, thank you.
So just to continue on the consultation and coordination process, there were public input workshops, the public scoping period. During that period from May of 2022 to June of 2022, the BLM sent notification to 298 individuals, agencies, organizations, and Native American Indian tribes. From May of 2021 through January of 2024, they also consulted with 35 tribes along the fire project route to receive public comments, and basically consultation was formed with those tribes. They requested meetings with the tribes. Most of the tribes declined the meetings, but there's a table in the EIS, section 5. It's table 5-1 that lists all the tribes that were invited to meetings and whether or not they responded to consultation letters and actually attended meetings. That's all in the EIS. All the tribes that were consulted during the process. There were in-person public scoping meetings. The one in Reno was held on April 20th, 2022. 17 attended that from the public. The public comment period for the draft EIS. There's been a 90-day comment period when the BLM issued the draft EIS. They take public comments for 90 days. There were also in-person public meetings in July of 2023. And then virtual meetings were held in June of 2023 and August of 2023. Folks who couldn't make it to the in-person meetings, they also have virtual meetings. That was for the draft EIS, and then for the final EIS, there's the public protest period that the BLM also follows. That's a 30-day public protest period after they issue the final EIS. Taking public comments, address those in the record of decision. There's also a 60-day governor's consistency review that has to be conducted following the final EIS. And that was a bit about the consultation and the coordination process. Other key parts of the EIS to identify and evaluate proposed action and alternatives. The proposed action is the action that individuals are seeking to implement, basically the line routes that they believe are the most environmentally, minimizing the damage to the environment as much as possible, while also meeting the engineering requirements that we have as far as making the system work from an operations and engineering standpoint. They also have to look at how the project would affect other resources. We take everything in total, what this project would do to current project that's going on or a future project that might happen. What would this project do from a cumulative standpoint? They have to look at cumulative effects, not only of one project by itself, but how does it fit into all the other existing and proposed projects that might be coming along, whether it's a data center or a residential development or a new highway. They have to take all that into consideration to figure out what this project would do cumulatively and assess those impacts on a cumulative basis. They analyze impacts on the following resources. This is a long list of resources, everything from public health and safety to federal endangered species, cultural resources like archaeological resources, socioeconomics, land use, Native American Indian religious concerns. And the list is pretty long there. Visual resources. How does it look on the landscape? They do visual assessments to make sure that they're consistent with the BLM's visual resource management policies. The BLM has certain policies that they designate areas as far as sensitivity to view, basically the view shed landscape character of an area, what the transmission line would do to that area. So they look at all of these resources in the EIS. And at the end of the EIS, there's also a list of appendices that basically state all of the detailed plans that go along with the analysis that was conducted up front in the body of the EIS. So it literally runs from A to Z, all the different management plans that the BLM has put together. There's a long list of environmental management measures that NV Energy has to comply with after the EIS is completed and the record of decision is issued, and the BLM grants NV Energy the right to construct the project. There's hundreds of environmental mitigation measures that NV Energy has to comply with, and there's a compliance inspection contractor that's hired by the BLM to watch as construction unfolds to make sure that basically to make sure that the construction contractor is following all of the stipulated environmental management measures and mitigation measures that they have to that are enumerated in the EIS here. I just wanted to highlight the last one. Appendix Z is the public comments and responses. So there's a large volume of public comments that were collected during the scoping period and then during the public comment periods of the draft and final EIS, where the BLM reports all of the comments they received either online or through email or at in-person meetings that they've held. Those are all cataloged in that appendix. There's a lot of work that goes into the BLM's process for finally evaluating all the routes, evaluating all the environmental impacts on the routes, make sure that it's consulted with all of the relevant agencies that they need to. Cooperating agencies, of which Lyon County was a cooperating agency, as are most of the counties along the routes. So this next slide shows a map of the common time facilities in Lyon County, starting in the lower right at Walker River Substation, which is the substation that's just north of Yerington, that's in construction right now. The three 345 kV lines are the yellow lines coming out and going to the west, which is to the left. Those three lines generally orient north and northwest through Lyon County and then into Story County. The Mira Loma to Walker River transmission line is the one that's farthest on the left, that terminates in the city of Reno, which is in the upper left. That ends at the existing Mira Loma substation. The other two 345 kV lines end in Story County at the existing Comstock Meadows substation. Also on this map, I wanted to point out for contrast, in contrast to last month's meeting where we just had the proposed transmission line in yellow, what we did is we added the existing transmission lines in this area. Purple, there's a blue, there's a red, and there's a green. It might be a little bit just to discern some of the green, the blue, and the red there, but the purple lines, particularly near Dayton from Walker River, those are existing transmission lines in the area. So we wanted to provide this as context to help inform the public about what existing transmission lines already are in the area and how this, how the proposed transmission lines relate to the existing transmission lines. And I added this slide to zoom in on the Dayton area. That kind of checkerboard pattern that you see there in yellow, that's BLM land. Everything else that's not yellow is private land. that NB Energy has to provide a conditional use permit application through Lyon County. Lyon County has jurisdiction on private land, not federal land, so because some of this line does cross private land, we had to go through the county's process and working with Lisa Nash and the Community Development Department to provide a conditional use permit application that meets the county's requirements. But I wanted to show this line just to show existing transmission lines are again in the purple dash lines, and then the proposed transmission lines are yellow to also zoom into this area and to show how the existing lines relate to the proposed transmission lines. This picture, similar to the presentation last month, just shows what the typical transmission structures will look like. On the left is the tangent structure, which is the structures that are in line. If you're driving down the highway and you see a bunch of transmission lines that are one after another in a straight line, those are tangent, what they call tangent transmission lines, tangent structures. And then on the right is a picture of a dead end or an angle structure, which has larger foundations than the tangent structure because it has to support the weight of the conductor pulling in two different directions. We call those angle structures because it's where the transmission line turns at a different angle. So you likely have seen some of those as you're driving up and down the highway as well. But those are larger structures, typically wider at the base because they have to have deeper foundations to be able to withstand the tension of the transmission line pulling different directions. Whereas the tangent line, the transmission line is going in one direction, so there's not as much tension on the conductor as it is when the line changes direction. So that's the difference in the tangent structure. And then the heights are listed there for the tangent structures and the dead end structures.
How we, are they sorry. Are they, let's say they're I get it for a minute. Come back a minute. Go ahead. Sure.
While you guys are doing this, will you be upgrading older, outdated poles that could potentially create fire risk?
Adam Goddard, NV Energy. No, not under the Green Lake project, but NV Energy has its own department that handles things like that. It's our National Disaster Protection Plan group. So they're the ones that analyze any structures that need maintenance that could potentially cause a fire. They're the ones that deal with that. That is their sole.
Are they gonna be out there with this project? For the additional ones, if there's any older, I mean, I know that these are all.
We're not
brand new.
touching any older ones, so the answer is no. These
Okay.
are all new structures.
Perfect. See, that's what we need.
I didn't
Thank you.
realize you were taking questions. Sorry about that. Couple slides back, you had the map of the yellow going through Lyon County area. And I have gone on your websites and tried to look at your maps, and I cannot tell where the different residences are. I can't tell what the streets are. I can't tell where my house is or my friend's house is.
Sure.
And I can't tell where those poles are gonna be. And so is there a way you can get a better map than that where we can actually see where our own homes are? around here?
Yeah, I've got some screenshots that I've got on my desktop that speak to that. I zoomed in to see basically where neighborhood owners that align in, so you can see exactly where,
Right.
you'll probably recognize the names of the streets.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have some bigger maps here too.
Yeah, I looked at
these are
those, I
kinda-
couldn't tell.
These are, good, but I
They're
wanted
not-
to provide some extra clarity for that.
Yeah.
That's why I've got some screenshots that we can show.
If I could real quick, I'll just kind of point out, is that all right?
Sure.
I lived here my entire life, I kind of know where it's at. I don't know if I'll probably block it, but it's coming from Mason Valley here, comes across the BLM, and it comes into the Fort Churchill Canyon area.
What
right here.
does that mean for Churchill Canyon? Like, is that Fort Churchill
Fort
Churchill
Churchill
Road?
River is Fort Churchill Road.
So it's
yeah.
gonna run along
And,
Fort Churchill Road.
For short ways, and then it comes over the hill near the Aspen Creek Ribs. where
I don't
we
know
have
what that is. I don't
So
know.
those are the little sewer ponds out there on Fort Churchill Road. Just past the rolling A. So it's down Fort Churchill Road, comes over the hill, and that's where it crosses, and it comes over, and the Copper Canyon area is over here, Copper Canyon development.
Okay.
But it's relatively, it's not close to really any homes. I think Copper Canyon, it's close to like a mile away. It's not really close to that. And
Because
then it
Fort
goes-
Churchill, there's a ton of homes along Fort Churchill.
There's no homes on Fort Churchill Road out there. You're
I'm talking about
you're-
closer to 50. So
Yeah,
like
and
right
it's not,
there.
it's not near any homes there. It comes
You know where the
over
water tank is as you're going?
over the
east
water.
on 50?
Yes, I get it.
As you're just going up the hill on 50, heading east.
Yeah.
There's a water tank that's, right, and you'll see it here in just a few seconds, but, there's a water tank that's up on the hill. Right behind that water tank is basically where the two lines, the Miraloma line and the Comstock number 1 line cross Highway 50 there, which is about, and as you'll see on the screenshots that I compared, basically a mile from the nearest residence, and it crosses that hill, and it's a mile from Caroline Way on the other side. So, just to give you some frame of reference there.
I do appreciate you bringing up the other map.
Yeah, and I wanted to do that just to make sure that we had full disclosure about, where these transmission lines are and street names that you'll recognize more clearly on the screenshots than you would maybe on the maps here.
Charles, she's.
Question, the purple lines, what size are those on the existing ones that go over the 50?
Those are 120.
You mean voltage wise or
Yeah.
height wise?
Like how big are the new ones going in as to the existing ones, right?
Height or voltage?
Voltage and height.
So the new line's going into 345 kilovolt, so we call that KV, K meaning kilo, thousand volts, so 345,000 volts. And Charles showed the diagram, they're between 85 and 125 feet tall, they vary. The existing lines are 230,000 volt, so new are 345, the old ones are 230. And they're generally about 30 feet shorter on average.
And I've got a picture of just an existing transmission line at Cassandra Avenue, just north of 50, where on this map here, it's basically, like I pointed out, but it's just south of the Story County border and we're across Highway 50. But there's a Google Earth Street View that I can share. It's also a screenshot, but it's just to show how close it is to residences of the existing transmission line. Structure heights, and as John was mentioning, these are self-weathering steel, so it looks like wood, but it's actually steel. It's not the galvanized steel that's really shiny. It's the dull steel that basically weathers over time to resemble wood. So instead of having, in this kind of background, instead of having 3 shiny structures against kind of the mountain landscape there, you've got more of a natural look, as close to natural as you can get, really. So.
These are meant to last many, many decades, well over 70, 80 years. And it's called weathering steel. And what it does is it forms a protective rust type coating on the outer surface of it that protects the inner surface. So it looks like they're rusting, but it's actually forming a protective coating on it.
Is that from electric?
Why it's forming the coating?
Yeah, is it?
No, it's simply from the moisture in the air. Yeah, it's oxidation and it just forms a
No.
coating.
Is it, I'm asking, is it electric down there, so it's gonna explode people or?
No, the
hurt
electric,
people for walking through there?
no, there's
hit
no,
something or anything
there's
like
no
that?
voltage. You could touch that pole all you want. Those are grounded. The only electricity that's flowing is in the wires you see. And we could talk about it later. I could point to better pictures, but we have what's called insulators. I know they're hard to see. When those conductors hang down, they're hanging down from insulators, and insulators prevent any electricity from flowing through. So zero electricity flows between the conductors themselves and any of the parts of the pole. So zero voltage flows. We touch these things all day long. There's no electric current.
And you're saying the wires are insulated or not?
The wires are insulated, yes, because if the wires were not insulated, it would short circuit and it would not work at all. So we have to keep them completely insulated. So zero power flows. Those things you could touch them all day long.
how many, how many, how deep does it go in?
The foundations on the 345 kV structures are average about 20 to maybe 25 feet deep.
Okay.
Those are concrete reinforced foundations.
So on this next slide, this is the visual simulation I was talking about. So at WSP, we have a visualization team that they do things that I never thought were possible, to be honest with you. They do photo renderings. We can go out and take pictures of landscapes and get the engineers to work with our visualization team to give them the exact structure, location, height, material, placement on the landscape. And then they can put a rendering together that shows what that transmission line or what that solar farm or substation would look like based on existing conditions. So the top photo here is an existing condition. We were, Adam and I and others were out in the field back in January of 2025. This view is along Occidental Way. It's just across the street, just across Highway 50 from the Maverick gas station. So we wanted to see, based on where the transmission line is going to be going, and I'll just get up there to show you just how this is going to orient. But but basically, there's a water tank on the landscape just as you cross this ridge. If you see this long kind of building there in the kind of the center part of the picture, you just go up. There's a water tank there. The transmission line. So the top picture is existing photos. The bottom picture is what the transmission line would look like when it's built. You can barely, and I can zoom in here just a second, but I just wanted to give you an idea of where it's at. You can barely see on the ridge line where the transmission line will come down. And there's a little spike here next to the water tank. That's where the transmission line would be. I'll blow it up so you can actually see it. It's really difficult. I had a hard time actually trying to figure out
The difference in the picture.
yeah, guys, where did you put this line? Because I can't see it on the photo that you put together. So,
and again,
yeah,
what that group has done is they've taken the actual transmission line design and dropped it into this. This is not an artist rendition of what it might look like. This is the actual design with the widths of the structures, the poles themselves, the heights, the colors. The full design is put into that, so that is exactly what it will look like.
trying to zoom into it. I can do it later.
Maybe we do that after.
Yeah,
It's
if
easier
people want
to
stop by.
Yeah.
Yeah. On this slideshow.
You're still not gonna
it's not letting me say that on it, but- So this next slide just lists, like we did last month, the proposed transmission line routes and the models that they cross on private land in Lyon County. The Mineral Loma to Walker line and the Comstock Meadows to Walker River #1 line basically parallel each other from the Walker River substation up to Highway 50. That's why those mileage are so similar there. There's very little difference in the miles there. The third line, the Comstock Meadows to Walker River #2 line, diverges from the other two lines around Wabuska and heads off straight north. And it crosses a larger distance than the other two lines. So that's roughly 13.5 miles from Walker River up to the Story County border. For the Comstock Meadows to Walker River #2 line. There's also a proposed distribution line. One of the other components of the project is telecommunication facilities that I was mentioning just a little while ago. Microwave sites and optical amplifier fiber optic systems have to relay information about how the system is performing. To get power to those sites, you need distribution lines like you might have that run to your house or your business. There's one proposed distribution line for the project in Lyon County that will connect an optical amplifier fiber optic facility to an existing distribution line. We have to connect the existing distribution line to that fiber optic facility with a proposed distribution line that's going to be routed under Highway 50, and we're currently working with PennDOT to get a permit for crossing their right of way and doing the underground work to install that line. Be able to connect the optical amplifier site that's just on the north side of Annette Avenue, just before it crosses Highway 50, underground, under Highway 50 to the existing distribution line that's on the other side of Highway 50.
And this is no different than what we would do if we were connecting up a new home, or if we were connecting a 7-Eleven or a new county building. It's the same thing. It's just new electric service.
It's about a quarter of a mile from where the fiber optic facility will be underground, under the highway to the existing distribution line. And that gets to the that third bullet there, the proposed telecommunication facilities. The optical amplifier site is in an area called Whiskey Flats. So that's the name that's been given to that optical amplifier site. And that's basically a fiber optic facility that basically transmits information about system performance back to Energy's control center so they can monitor system performance, and if there's any faults on the line, they can detect a problem and then go out to repair it if need be. There's a microwave tower site that is an existing site on Pine Nut Peak on BLM land. It's an existing facility that they're not expanding, they're simply retrofitting with some newer equipment to basically take the microwave dish that's about 6 feet in diameter and replacing it with a new dish that's about 4 feet in diameter. So basically they're consolidating some equipment and reducing the size of the existing facility there.
Yeah, this microwave site has been there for over 25 years. And what we're doing is technology changes. We're taking a very large radio and replacing it with a very small radio because it's more efficient. Because it's more efficient, we can take the existing 6-foot dish antenna and turn it into a 4-foot. So what you'll see outside is actually getting smaller.
What do you mean by more efficient? Like, is it a higher?
The electronics today
Higher-
are much more effective than they were 25, 30
so
years
the
ago.
higher microwave?
They can detect signals better with electric noise in the atmosphere. So it's kind of like in the old days, if Charles was yelling at me, I'd have to have him yell at me to hear me. These days, my hearing is better. Maybe I've got a hearing aid. He can just talk. So it's just more efficient. It can detect the signal through just much easier. And these are point-to-point radio signals. You have 0 radio signals at this level. If that was the case, these systems wouldn't work. They have to go strictly point-to-point. There are no radio waves that anyone would ever detect here. 0.
So these next few slides just walk through the timeline for permitting in Lyon County. Similar to the presentation that we gave last month. We started in February of 2025 with Lyon County with a pre-application meeting. That's what we do to understand the county's requirements so that we give them a permit application that meets their requirements and they don't spend extra time having to go back and forth with us saying you need more information here and this is the requirement here. We have a pre-application meeting up front so that we get all of that stuff clearly articulated with the county and so that we know what the requirements are and the county knows what they're going to get in the permit application that we provided them. So we did that in February 2025, and then in April of 2025, we provided the conditional use permit application to Lisa Nash at her office at the county. They ultimately reviewed it, said that it didn't meet their requirements because we didn't have all of the landowner signatures on the affidavit form that needed to be completed. So NV Energy spent the better part of the year between summer 2025 and the spring of 2026 to work with the affected landowners to get their signatures and or their easements negotiated for the private land that we're crossing in Lyon County. So after that process concluded, we went back to the county to the same day in 2026 on the 21st of April and resubmitted the application, this time with all of the signed landowner affidavits and the easements that we had negotiated with the private landowners. So once we had all that completed, Lyon County Community Development Department deemed the application complete. And that's what led us to getting on the agendas for the Planning Commission hearing back in, the same time last month on the 10th. And then just last Thursday, we were in front of the Board of County Commissioners for the final decision on the application. Bear in mind, this is for the application from Walker River Substation up to Highway 50. Because we didn't have landowner signatures on the part north of Highway 50, the county wanted us to break the application into essentially two applications, one that was just from Walker River up to Highway 50, and then a second application, which I'll get to in just a second, which is an amendment, which is for the facilities north of Highway 50 up to the Story County border. And that's what's currently in Lisa Nash's review right now. And that will be going to the Board of County Commissioners in August to get approval for the amendment, basically the amendment in the application.
Charles, that distance between Highway 50 and where Story County begins, I think that's about a mile. Do you have a clear estimation about how much property that would still be in Lyon County?
Yeah, so there's the two lines that are the parallel lines, the Mariloma to Walker River line, and then the Comstock Meadows to Walker River #1 line that are parallel to each other. Between Highway 50 and the Story County border, most of that land is BLM. There's less than a tenth of a mile of each of those lines that's on private property. Basically, there's BLM land and BLM land, and the transmission line just crosses two small little pieces of private land in kind of a checkerboard fashion. The total line mileage from Highway 50 to the Story County border for those two lines is around a mile, but it's less than 500 feet. 500 feet. Yeah, it's less than 500 feet for each of those private parcels that we cross for those two lines. For the other line, for the third line, the Comstock #2 line, it's about 8 miles between Highway 50 and the Story County border.
And that's the line that runs further east in the stagecoach area.
Right.
Okay.
Basically it follows Annette Avenue and then crosses USA Parkway. We did a reroute there, so it crosses USA Parkway, then follows USA Parkway up to the Story County border. Yeah, that's correct. It's in the state silver springs area. Thank you. Yeah. I might need to plug in because my battery is running low. So just to kind of finish the land use permitting for Lyon County, like I mentioned, just a couple weeks ago, we provided Lisa Nash with the CUP amendment, which is for the facilities that are north of Highway 50 up to the Story County border. We'll be back in front of the Board of County Commissioners on August 6th for the hearing for the decision on the amendment of the application. After we get done with land use permitting, we go into construction permitting, and that's where NV Energy's construction contractor comes in, Tax or T&D Power. Then the construction contractor, and they'll be working with Lyon County's Public Works Department and their roads department to secure any grading permits, any access permits that they need for driveways that they might need to utilize or construct to get to the transmission line right away, as well as a road use and traffic management agreement. Similar to what we did when we got the conditional use permit application approved for the Walker River substation. NV Energy executed a road use agreement with the county such that, and NV Energy's contractor executed a road agreement with the county such that contractor basically puts a performance bond in place to say that if we damage this road during construction, which we likely will in some cases, NV Energy's construction contractor is obligated to pay that or to repair that road. The county can repair it themselves. They can dip into the performance bond. Basically, it's a financial surety bond that NV Energy's contractor pays to the county for them to dip into that pot of money if they need to improve the roads that are used during construction activities.
Before that, while the agreement is being developed, our construction contractor will go out with the county and take video and photographs of all the roads, so they know the pre-construction condition. And it is also in NV Energy's contract with our construction contractor that they must repair any roads or anything else that they damage to at least its pre-construction condition. So that's a requirement of ours on our construction contract.
This next slide just goes through the process that we're working through in Story County and City of Reno. It's the same process that we're working through in Lyon County. We do a pre-application meeting first, understand the requirements, we submit the application. Story County and City of Reno, like Lyon County, both deemed our applications incomplete not because we didn't meet any of their approval criteria, but simply we didn't have the landowner's signatures on the affidavit forms. So again, M Energy is working with the affected private property owners to get easements and signatures on the affidavit form so that we can demonstrate to the county that we've met that hurdle and then we can get on their schedule for the planning commission and the board of county commissioners, and in City of Reno's case, the planning commission and then the city council. With Reno, as we mentioned last month, because this project is considered a project of regional significance, we not only have to satisfy Reno requirements, but we have to go through the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency. They have a planning commission and a governing board that has to look at the application and update the utility corridor map to basically add in the Greenlink facilities. But they also have a review of the application and an approval process you have to go through. So in City of Reno, it's a twofold process, whereas Swan County is just Board of County Commissioners, and Planning Commission. We're currently working through each of those jurisdictions, and the blue text, the tentative dates that we've got for hearings in those jurisdictions. It's not only local government, but also state governments. This list is the same as last month. All of the different state permits that we've worked through. Nevada Division of Environmental Protection, and Nevada Division of Forestry. There was a protected plant that we needed to get a permit for. Division of State Lands, Nevada Division of State Lands considered the Carson River state land, so we had to get, as we cross over the Carson River, we have to get a permit from the Nevada Division of State Lands to be able to do that. Nevada Department of Transportation for right-of-way and occupancy permits that we're crossing over or under a state of Nevada highway or a U.S. highway, which NDOT has jurisdiction on. We have to get permits from them for that. And ultimately, this winds up with the Public Utilities Commission of Nevada. We have to provide the Utility Environmental Protection Act permit, a UEPA permit application to the state. And in that permit, we list all of the local state permits that we're going to be applying for and getting. Public Utility Commission then says, okay, we've reviewed your application, it's complete, here's your compliance order. Show us all the permits that you said you were going to get. We have to provide proof that we've gotten all those permits. And when we do that, the Public Utilities Commission then says, okay, here's your permit to construct, which is essentially our notice to proceed.
I appreciate all this information. I don't think that we're questioning your steps and how you are doing it by any means, because you guys know what you're doing. I think the ultimate question comes down to not enough people were informed and then in advance. And I think that's what this really comes down to. We're not denying the fact that you guys did all the dry licensure and all of that. I mean, it's good. Thank you for letting us know. But I can tell you that half the people that are probably here don't really care about those details. They want to know about like how it's going to affect them, how it's going to affect our community, why we didn't know before June when you guys have been working on this for a year. So I'm not taking away from your presentation. I'm just kind of saying we're on this level, the down here, county commissioners and people like that, they want all these little details. And it's 9:30. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have an amazing packet here and your system is that's not in question. If it's the same stuff as last week. We know you guys did your job. That's truthful. And we appreciate that. We really do.
Yeah, and on the public involvement part, as far as the BLM's process, again, it has to remain impartial and outside of that process. We can't be seen as interfering with that. So it's really, I think the question comes down to the BLM coordinating more with local jurisdictions, maybe sending out more information, and it's always better than not enough. But I can't speak to the BLM. I don't work for them, and Energy doesn't work for them as well. So it's more of a question on, what we've heard here tonight is just the overall process from the federal government, informing the public about the project and posting it in places where, if I were living here, I probably wouldn't have read the newspaper, "Oh, I need to go to Rayleigh's to get that public notice to figure out there's a public meeting happening 2 doors down from me. You know, I would have never.
And also based on, you know, your feedback last meeting and sort of concluded, you know, we've been working with our corporate communications group, to see what can be done to get more information out there. You know, I mean, there are limits with, you know, sometimes there are regulations as to what we can and cannot do, but we have been working with them and taking your input and providing it to them so we could do further outreach with everybody throughout the state. You know, I mean, everyone can always say you could have done more. And yeah, we probably could have done more on some level, but we are working with them to get that word out there. Yeah.
Go
we
to
have to
this
take,
meeting on YouTube.
what's that?
What?
You said to post it on YouTube.
Oh.
So can I throw a couple of questions out? This is an easy one. As the permitting manager, are you also considered the project manager, or is that two totally different?
It's 2 totally different things, yeah. So I report up to the project manager. There's a couple hundred people at WSP working on this, so
Okay.
I'm one part of the team. So the project manager's up here, then we've got discipline leads. I'm one of the discipline leads.
So I'm late to this party. When we started this off, there was a lot of very passionate questions and concerns about the AI power components, all this. I'm not gonna bring that up for a second. When you started this project, with your past history of previous projects, it appears that you want to do wonderful things for this state, this area, increase the infrastructure, protect the environment, protect the eagles, protect the water, protect everything. That's great. Kind of like lip service, we have to trust that's being done. My question is, 3-4 years ago when this started, you kind of expect these kind of discussions, some dissension, disagreement, frustrations, etc. But the power centers and the AI has really kind of thrown a lot of attention to this. So here's my question. With what was studied and what you designed and what you're building, all this took place before AI power centers even came into the vernacular. It's here. So will your infrastructure be able to handle their needs as you're providing this structure for the public and the community?
That goes back to one of the slides when I was mentioning the interconnection studies. So if an AI or a data center says, NV Energy, I want to connect to your system, NV Energy has to look at that and say, well, legally, NV Energy is obligated to entertain offers from developers, or whether it's a residential developer, whether it's a new Walmart, whether it's a Microsoft substation or a data center. They can't simply say, no, we don't want to provide power to that one. We only want to provide power to these guys. They're obligated to provide power wherever it comes in. But those entities who want to connect into the system have to do their own studies to make sure that there's enough capacity on the system first to actually even entertain getting the power from their data center hooked into the system, or for NV Energy to provide power to that data center. And then they have to go through the state and federal rules and regulations that we just talked about. If it's on federal land, they have to go through all the same processes. So they have to do their own studies to make sure that it's even feasible to do that. And it takes years sometimes for, and we were just talking about that a few days ago, the fact that AI and data centers have all of a sudden become, in the past few months, past year, the hot topic, as far as, what's going on, not just in Nevada, but across the country. I mean, I was on the phone with my dad a few months ago and he's like, yeah, we're trying to, there's something they want to build a data center, near the lake or whatever. And he was, upset because he's like, yeah, it's going to take all this water. And it's basically from Virginia all the way to California. It's been kind of a topic of conversation for the past year or so.
And it's become a distraction,
right? It's becoming
to your project,
right? It's becoming something that a lot of people latch onto. They think, oh, Greenleaf is just here because of the data centers. And when Greenleaf was actually started about 10 years ago, basically, when Adam and others started working on this, filing the application with the PUCN, it's just now that data centers are becoming like wind farms and solar farms. Everyone wants to jump on the renewable energy bandwagon, or developers want to develop a wind farm or a solar farm or a data center. Whatever is most. I look at it, taking off my consultant tab. It's basically just real estate development, whether it's an apartment complex or a wind farm or a solar farm. A lot of folks, the developers will want to provide plans for that, but then when the economic winds, they shift and say, oh, we're not in the wind farm business anymore, we're in the data center. That's the new thing, you know, to get involved with.
So I think we understand that.
Yeah.
So my question is, all this started before the AI became the hot topic.
Yeah.
So I understand redundancy, I understand reallocation of your electrical needs. My question is has this already been studied? I'm not talking about AI being good or bad and all this other thing, which trust me, still concerns me. And I really don't know what to believe, what I'm reading.
Right.
My question to you is, can this system, which sees you're already going to start building it, right?
So let me answer your question. I know what you're asking. So the answer to your question is, you know, as Charles mentioned, you know, look, and let me just take 30 seconds. A data centers is the flavor of the month now, right?
Yep.
When did everyone start hearing about it and making a big deal about it? 3 months ago? Thereabouts? How long? 10 years? No. 3 months ago, maybe a year,
No,
right?
when the governor gave tax event for trip.
So,
Okay,
so NV Energy presented this as we are required to do. We have to come up with a plan on how we're going to serve all customers in the state. That was filed July 20th, 2020 with the Public Utilities Commission. We finalized estimates for that plan in 2018. We started working on GreenLink inception. It took different forms over the years until we got to that point. So we've been working on GreenLink, developing it for about a decade. So when we planned that, we planned based on the best information we have at the time. Our planners look at forecast data, who's moving, what the technology is. So they try to forecast what we need for today and for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So GreenLink was not concepted with, oh, we build it and then day one it's all maxed out. GreenLink has been designed with the needs for today, the next several years, and going on. So did anyone foresee that we'd have 1 million data centers all over the world? No. But as Charles mentioned, GreenLink will handle data center traffic or power, community development power, hospitals, you name it. As more load comes on, whether that's data centers or new communities or what have you, studies are done. And if additional resources are needed from us for power, then we will build those. That may mean we add another transformer to one of these substations. That may mean we may need to build another small transmission line somewhere else. Or we segment our system and have some of the power going over there that used to go over there. Our planning engineers take all that into account. So at some point, I mean, if you add in 100 data centers with an equivalent load of what we serve with all of the state today, then no, GreenLink won't handle that. But GreenLink has been designed to handle a lot of power. And that's the best answer I can give you because we don't know all the data centers that are coming online.
Or any.
Right.
I would like to know too.
But you know, it's not up to us. It's them that presents to us and say, hey, we plan to build a data center this big, we need this much power, and we do the studies.
Can you scale up the power handling capacity of once the lines are in and built, can you add more easily, or is it like a big deal to add more?
It's a big deal to add more because we have, you know, the conductor that we have designed it for, it's designed for a maximum power capacity and you cannot go beyond that. But it's designed for quite a large amount of capacity. I forget the load, the peak load in northern Nevada, but in southern Nevada, it's about 6,500 to 7,000 megawatts. GreenLink has been designed for 3,500 megawatts. So GreenLink in and of itself is designed to cover half the capacity that southern Nevada serves today. So it's probably equivalent of what is being served in northern Nevada. It's a very large capacity line.
All right, we're about to ask for public comment again. Any few words from Nevada Energy before we ask the public comment?
Just one last thing is on the data center. Again, GreenLink is not being built because of data centers. GreenLink was concepted 10 years ago. And I know people keep trying to tie it. Will GreenLink serve some data centers? Yes, it will. Because we have what's called an obligation to serve by the Public Utilities Commission and the state law that we cannot discriminate against any people or anyone, company, business, person, any entity that needs to be served with power. We have that obligation to serve. We can't say, you know what, the public doesn't want data centers, so we're not going to provide them power. We don't have that option. We're not legally able to do that. So we serve everyone equally. We don't discriminate against anybody. So again, I know everyone likes to tie data centers to Greenlink. Greenlink may in some form or fashion, and it will, serve some data center. It is not being designed just for data centers. It's being built because 10 years ago, we identified a need for capacity and that we did not have enough to serve the general public.
But our zoning was changed for that reason too. Did your 60 years, I know the zoning changed.
All right, time for public comment on the topic of Nevada Energy Greenlink. And state your name.
Lynn Padmore. So I'd like to point out, Mr. Hutchinson said a very profound statement when he said this is BLM land and then it crosses over private property. That was the instrument to get Lyon County involved. Lots of meetings, then eventually the planning department put together a recommendation. Before that could be fully approved, it had to go to the advisory boards. Now the A in CAB is advisory. This board gives the public an opportunity to hear things that are going on in the planning section of our little world. Okay, and from here, there's a transmittal of the motions that's given both to perhaps the planning commission and to the Board of County Commissioners. All right, so we're not going to stop. Oh, and it started with a Senate bill, okay, because we have BLM land. We're about 85% of our land here in Nevada is federal land. Okay, that's why we were chosen. Telling you. Same thing for the development. So I think I've kind of wrapped it all up. So they're doing their job. All of us are unhappy that we didn't find out about this. If you looked at that timeline, that was during the dark ages of COVID, the scamdemic, where our legislator locked us out, the public. We couldn't even get in there. I tried. Okay, that's when that Senate bill was approved. Okay, so everybody has their little piece, but you said the trigger was when it crossed public, private property. And if you want to find out what those addresses are, go to your search engine, put Lyon County parcel numbers, that's in the agenda. And you're going to see the map. It might be.
Yeah, that's not what I was looking at,
but you'll see the street.
Yeah.
You'll see the actual, and if you dig deeper, you'll see the owner of that property.
right, those are
So-
people that they've actually had to talk to get their permission to cross their
Those
land.
are
I'm-
the affected parcels.
Right, but I think we're all, my concern is not just, I mean, I'm very concerned for those people, don't get me wrong.
Okay, but this is my time.
Yeah.
Okay, so the CAB is doing their job. From what I can hear, Lyon County has done their job. And just like the Transcontinental Railroad that came across Nevada and, you know, connected the promontory, you're not gonna stand in front of the machine and stop it. However, you do have a voice. You've expressed it here. You can attend the Board of County Commissioner meeting. So.
20 more seconds for the.
Okay, so that's my point. So it's on public web. That's how we found out about it. My other point is, we used to have the meetings the first Wednesday for CAB. And somehow or another it got changed to the second, which means we miss the planning commission people. Because this was taken at planning commission at 10 a.m. the day June, whatever our last meeting was.
I'll address that change in date. It was because the time schedule from when an application goes through, when the planning department needs to produce a report and publish the report, their reports could not be finished by the time we had a meeting. So we elected to move our meetings a week later so that we would actually have their report, so that we would be better informed about any recommendation we make to the Board of Commissioners, knowing that it would be too late for a recommendation to the Planning Commission.
Yes.
So there were two competing factors there.
And that's possible. And then you guys are all energized right now. Sounds to me like there's gonna be an opening right here at this cab. So, if you're interested, put in your application and get on the agenda. And
Thank
thank you,
you.
Jim, for stepping up for, so John and I were on the cab. And then John left me and went to the planning commission.
Your public comment time has expired. I'll
I know how
recognize
you feel.
Bill Woolley online. Bill Woolley, you appear to be muted. You'll need to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Phil Woolley, and I would like this included in the meeting minutes. This topic is as important as it is. I think that it needs to be shared with the public in every possible way, including the very simple step of taking this meeting video and putting it on YouTube, just like the other county meetings, including school board and county commissioners meetings do. And by just telling me no when I say that, that tells me you guys are trying to hide something. That makes me not trust you. And we really need, like Castanelli said, we need to get more people involved in this. And the way we do that is we make sure everybody can access it. Not everybody knows where all these links are. Not everybody knows where all these postings are. Everybody knows where YouTube is. Everybody knows where Facebook is. It's free. Everybody's got it in their pocket. Everybody can use it. This topic needs to be placed on YouTube. This meeting needs to be placed on YouTube for the public to see. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let you know that I think that's would be very beneficial for the public to see what's going on here better. However, it's not up to this board to decide how to publish any recordings. It would be up to
What board? Who's it up to?
the Board of County Commissioners and or the county manager. We, as this board, abide by the rules that they've set up, and we record it and provide that recording for access to the county.
So then I would need to speak to the county manager to make sure that this gets posted.
The county manager and or the county board of commissioners.
So both, it sounds like. Okay. Also, congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Other public comment? Yes.
Justina Yellow Hair. I just have a question. If we voiced our concerns earlier, if you would be willing to do a CAB report that we want a moratorium for the pause, the pause and data centers. I'm not sure if you read, but there's been a lot of talk that Lyon County is quickly emerging as a massive data center and technology hub, because there's a lack of land and strict moratoriums in neighboring areas. Developers are pouring millions and billions of dollars into our county with these large scale projects. And it's also poised that Nevada is going to become the second largest data center market in the world, which is very scary. Very scary. We do not know the long-term effects on this. We don't know. You didn't mention anything about the emissions that are going into the air. All of this needs to be looked at very carefully before we make these long-term decisions that are irreversible. This is our home. We choose to live here. It's a beautiful place to raise kids. I graduated high school in Yerington. I chose to be here because it's a small community. It's beautiful, and we really don't want to see this place ruined for future generations over money. There's no amount of money that is worth the health of your citizens or the $200,000 that is going to the Lyon County School District. It's what use is the $200,000 if your kids are sick?
Let me interrupt you. This
Yeah.
public comment period is for the Nevada Energy Greenlink project.
Sorry, I thought it was.
Yeah,
I thought we were at the
still on
end.
item 8 in the agenda.
Sorry, I thought it was the.
Will we get an opportunity to?
Yes. Any other public comment on item number 8, Nevada Green Link project?
I could ask a question. Are you anticipating that AI data centers will create their own energy on their property and not tap into your system at all?
I personally have seen a couple articles in the news, but the Greenlink team is not involved in any. That's like, can't honestly speak to it. That's handled by other groups in our company, such as the business development group, and that's not our group. We're strictly transmission.
Thank you. Any additional public comment online on the Nevada Energy Green Link project? Board member discussion on the Nevada Energy Green Link project topic.
Yeah, we ran out of time.
I feel like it's sorry.
Is that your morning alarm? Sorry, Nevada Energy has cut you off.
I had a comment.
That doesn't mean you find out. Alberto Gonzalez.
So I'm gonna say something that we've also never known, right? So Lyon County population has increased 21 for the last 25 years. The county has grown 25.2% from 2015 to 2025. And is expected to continue growing 2.1% for the following years. Okay? Government is known for being reactive rather than proactive, but in this case, our state saw the need for redundancy, resiliency, reliability to support the growth of our area and across the states to ensure that we have reliable power. Okay? So I am actually pleasantly shocked that this state had the foresight to require this addition of electrical capacity, and that we are actually on track to complete it by 2028 as as required. And I'm hoping, and everyone here, I hope that this will avoid the blackouts that we've seen in California, New York, and in other areas across the country. So I'm happy to hear that someone thought about this 10 years ago, and it's actually going to happen very soon. That's all.
Thank you. Board member discussion on this topic. Would any board member like to make a motion about this topic? And I would add that if we make a motion about this topic, there are certain recommendations that the planning department has created about the wording of a motion that we incorporate into that motion. So is there a motion on the table on this topic? Seeing no motion, I'll move to item number 9, correspondence and email. We've received correspondence and email from the county indicating the planning commission's approval of this project in June, and more recently received correspondence indicating the Board of County Commissioners has approved this project as of last week. I don't know exactly if this belongs in correspondence, email, or in public participation, but it's, I think, better here now than later. I received an email, our Dayton board email address, received an email of public comment from Kelly Cantor. And Kelly Cantor states, as a 20-year resident of Lyon County, I ask that you not approve the North Lyon County Power District Ordinance and not move forward with the Greenlink project. The community members deserve to see a detailed report with actual evidence of the potential environmental impacts, the effects on the local wildlife and ranchers, future expansion of industries such as AI data centers, and the long-term health consequences to community members. Until there has been a detailed assessment of all the factors potentially impacted by the approval of this project should not move forward. I do not support this expansion to allow for the proliferation of AI data centers in Lyon County or anywhere else in the state of Nevada. Another public comment was submitted by email from Heidi Lee. Heidi states, I do not understand the need for growth to keep up, pardon. I do understand the need for growth to keep up technically, but it seems we are exploding with so-called progress at an alarming rate. Our county is going to be overtaken by all this progress against the will of the majority that populates Lyon County. Earlier in the planning process, we didn't really seem to hear much about it, and so there didn't seem to be a lot of people participating in learning all the details. This allowed a tight control of any transparency and opportunities for more public involvement. I picked Lyon County as my home because of the rural feeling and of the wide open spaces still having room for residents to build and settle with the same appreciation. I didn't really anticipate housing being developed by crowding so many homes into small areas. Growth is good, but when we are concerned about lack of infrastructure, I become worried. As for all the data centers and miles of power line towers taking over the space in our beautiful desert, it not only destroys the appeal of residing in this county, it also adds to our already stressed resources. People all over the country are fighting against data centers for good reason. Many feel that they are being taken over without any choice. As a homeowner of 10 years, as a homeowner 10 years from now, I am afraid the properties are losing a lot of value because they will not want to live feeling like they are in an industrial zone or in views of once wonderful space is overtaken by towering metal things that just destroy the beauty that was once here. Lyon County has had an incredible history. I hope its future holds the same. Any board member discussion on correspondence and email? Yes. Public comment on correspondence and email. Item number 10. Chair and board member comments and agenda requests. Members have agenda requests or comments? I do have a comment to make about the schedule and the sequence of public meetings. In that, before there's an application, boards don't take up a subject on speculating that someone might submit an application. But after an application is received by a county, the county is required by law to respond in it in a certain time frame. And that time frame is relatively quick to help the applicant get an answer without undue delays. And so it's that time frame that the law requires that ends up with the sequence of the planning department report, the hearings before Dayton and other advisory boards, the planning commission, and ultimately the board of county commissioners. So it's not as though we can just have the latitude to start discussions speculating about what someone might want to do in the future before there's an actual application. Once there's an actual application, we have a pretty quick timeline that we have to respond to it. And so I think maybe we'd like it to be different, but we're in a position of having to comply with the laws that determine this. Public comment?
Oh, I don't want to, I just want to know who determines the time frame from the applicant to the response.
That, I believe, is the Nevada legislature. Commissioner Casanelli, do you have feedback on that?
Yeah, so Nevada is a Dillon state, so we have only powers given to the counties by the state, so we have a lot, we have to abide by state law.
You know what statute that is?
I do not.
So my question is with that, in April of 2025, since NV Energy submitted the CUP application, this conversation could already start being had.
Can I speak, please? Lisa Nash?
Correct.
I'll recognize to answer that question, Lisa Nash from the Lyon County Planning Department.
Hi, thank you. First of all, for statutory timelines, it's under NRS 278 or 278A. You can find it under there. And we have timelines on when we have to determine completeness. And then we have timelines from that period of when they have to be before a board. We try to stay within them, and they are very quick. They are anywhere from 45 to 60 days. That doesn't give us a lot of time. When an application comes in like it did in 2025, it was never deemed complete because they did not have signatures. Until the application is deemed complete, fees can't be paid, and it isn't an application that goes out anywhere because it has gone nowhere. It hasn't been deemed complete by us. It hasn't been formally deemed a project, and fees haven't been paid. Sorry if I ran through that quick. If you have more questions, I'm happy to answer.
So Lisa, just for clarity, that timeline begins once the county determines that the application is complete.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. We have 3 business days to review for completeness. We either deem it complete or deem it incomplete. If it's deemed complete, they have 5 business days to pay fees. And then we begin the review and the process of putting it on an agenda. The longest time I think we have is 45 days from when we deem it complete to it going to the Planning Commission. And that is a very short time. It goes out to all departments for review, a minimum of at least 2 weeks. And then everything has to be reviewed.
Thank you very much, Lisa. I think that concludes item 10, chair and board member comments and agenda requests. Item number 11 is again public participation. And we'll begin that at 9:47. Requests here in the room. Yes,
Sorry.
and state your name again, please.
Justina Yellow here. I do apologize about earlier. It's late. I didn't realize that it wasn't the end of the meeting. I just wanted to continue on of what what I was discussing about the potential of you guys doing the CAB report for a moratorium for the data center. We put a pause until further things can be investigated. Yeah, formally request.
I would suggest that go as a public comment or a recommendation to that data center workshop that we're going to hold.
Yeah,
That would be best.
No,
Yeah. Will you guys
we're
be-
asking for it now.
Yeah. Before the ordinance meeting, will you guys be attending that?
The data workshop.
Yeah.
I will see if I can take the time off. from work.
When is that, Commissioner?
August
August
3rd.
at 9 a.m.
I will be
Yeah.
going to that.
I will be at work.
I expect to attend that.
I'm sure I'll be at work, but I'll try.
I
You're selling the size of my kids. Yeah, food up.
Oh, those are your kids. Oh, okay.
Kids?
Nice.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah. Anyways, again, I just want to formally request for,
A moratorium.
yeah. It's really important that we protect our land before it's too late. Like you just said, the application process goes by quickly and there's a lot to learn. I also have a connection with one of the directors at the Environmental Health Sciences. It is a non-profit, nonpartisan organization. They advocate for evidence-based public health policies built on high-quality science. If you would be interested in hearing a presentation from them regarding different concerns that or questions that we should be asking, I can set that up if you guys are interested.
Would you use our email address for the board and make that information available?
Yeah.
Thank you.
As an agenda.
Yeah, because it kind of sounds to me that you want to request an agenda item.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that would be an agenda item then.
You
Okay,
don't-
and
I don't
that-
know. That
okay.
sounds like what you're at, like what you're public participating in.
Okay,
So if it's something that you wanted on the agenda for a further discussion, you'll have to submit it as. an
Oh,
agenda
okay.
item.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that was it.
It should be on your.
We've got two people on Zoom.
Yeah, we got some.
Moment. Restart this timer.
Change.
I'm sorry, is it me again?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's hard to hear on my phone. I would just like, this is totally off topic from everything that was discussed tonight, but I don't know if this is the right place, but it seems like a good place to start. I would like to possibly request an agenda item for discussion on the traffic light, the new traffic light on Highway 50, to coordinate with the necessary entities to see what can be done to make that a little safer, because the gentleman who died in that accident was a friend of mine, and it really hits home. And as I'm on the road and I'm driving it every day, as soon as you get up to 60 miles an hour, suddenly you got to slam the brakes back on and stop again. And it's not safe the way it's designed. I mean, we need to slow that road down right before the light, going east, I guess eastbound. So I don't know where that starts, who needs to be talked to, or what the entities are that need to be hollered at, but I think that we really need to look into this for the safety of everybody in Dayton. That's all.
I think, and board members or others, correct me if I'm wrong, that traffic lights on Highway 50 are the complete domain of Nevada Department of Transportation and not up to Dayton Regional Advisory Board or even the County Board of Commissioners to change plans about a traffic light. I know that the County Board of Commissioners has tried to apply a little persuasion on Nevada Department of Transportation to get them to move quicker on lights that are proposed further east on Highway 50. But I think that friendly persuasion is about the limits of what people in Lyon County can do to influence the Nevada Department of Transportation.
Well, perhaps before we have any more deaths on the road, we should at least call these people in for a meeting and talk to them.
Thank you. I recognize a name that I can't read. It looks like James. Who has better eyes than I do?
It's a James.
The ones with the horse with the flag.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Do you copy?
Yes. Can you state your name?
James Cordero, Story County, Virginia City. I heard Phil Woolley mention something about the YouTube. So our commissioners in Story County, they broadcast all the meetings and also the what is it, the planning commission meetings on YouTube. So yeah, I would highly suggest that, Phil, if you're listening still, like I messaged you earlier, I'm not sure if you got that, but yeah, I encourage that all the Lyon County constituents encourage to the commissioners, do as how we do in Story County, just west of you, up on Mount Davidson, so that there's transparency and that you guys are being good stewards of your constituents. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
One thing, James, Lyon County Board of County Commissioners does post their videos on YouTube.
So you guys aren't broadcasting this on YouTube also?
No, like my chair had mentioned prior, we are not the Board of County Commissioners, and so we are not obligated to do that.
Well, and I'll add, not approved to do that. We could not take it upon ourselves to broadcast this in some other media other than what the county has provided us for, which is via Zoom. And I will add that I think this is probably the only regional advisory board in the county that does do it on Zoom. And that's simply because we meet in a facility that has the setup that allows it. Most of the other advisory boards don't have the equipment to even connect via Zoom.
That's understandable, but what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. You guys got to meet at a place where, again, to be good stewards of your constituents and let it be, I don't know what the NRS is on where you must do your due diligence for your constituents to know what's going on in their county or in their jurisdiction. I mean, just try to do what's right. We do that up here on top of Mount Davidson. So you guys should be doing that down there in the valley.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, sir.
Further public comment?
Meredith Keys, Lyon County resident. I am formally asking for this advisory committee to do a cab west to commissioners to put a moratorium immediately on data centers.
All right, thank you. I see a hand raised for Ginger. Is that correct? Who can read that?
Yeah, you're right.
Ginger. Ginger,
Hi.
go ahead.
Hello, I'm Ginger Tapia. I'm a Lyon County resident and property owner. I would be willing to volunteer some time to get a YouTube channel going. I worked as a website developer for many years, and I'd be willing to volunteer my time so people, can see recordings of our advisory board meetings. And also, I'm curious why Silver Springs Advisory Board meetings doesn't have this technology. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger.
Ginger. Further public comment? Board member comments, discussion?
I'm hungry.
Seeing none, I call this meeting adjourned at 9:59.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.